Hello, everyone. We've got a special guest tonight. We're really excited to be able to talk to him. Blake from the Lost Cryptids Conservatory is going to join us tonight. We're going to talk about Bigfoot. It's going to be the main thing we're going to talk about tonight. We may talk about a little bit of the other things that may come with that, but we're going to try to focus on Bigfoot tonight. I've got Jesse and Brooks, of course, going to be sitting in on this one tonight. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of questions for Blake, as I've always got questions because I'm trying to learn as much as I can about these things, and I think the best way to do it is people like Blake that are out there in the field, getting the actual experiences. And I'll go ahead and bring Brooks and Jesse on real quick, and we'll start getting this thing started.
Can't hear Jesse. Check the little microphone down in the live stream.
Let's see. Jesse is says she's good on my end, but I don't have any sound. No sound for you, Jesse. I can't right now. Yep, Jesse is soundless. I was telling everybody we're excited to talk to Blake tonight because he gets a lot of firsthand encounters. I think he even gets a little crazier than what I do. I think he actually goes out and camps with just a tarp, and there is no way I would do that.
I think I'd rather have a tent or sleep in my truck.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that. I think that would be a little too much for me. I'm not that tough.
Yeah.
All right, I want to go ahead and bring Blake on, and then when she gets her microphone fixed and everything, she can hop in.
Hey,
Hello, Blake. It's good to see you, man.
Hey,
We're so
Blake.
glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
I was telling everybody that I think that you even go the distance of sleeping out there in the woods with a tarp or something. I heard people talking you stay with a tarp, and I was like, wow, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, not all the time, but a handful of times. Yeah, I'll take a tarp and some mylar blankets to make a sandwich out of myself, and
Oh wow.
stayed pretty warm. It was the last time I did it was in February. It was like 36, 34 degrees out, and I had a little fire going, and I wasn't too bad.
Wow. I'm afraid of snakes. That's my problem.
Well, we don't. I mean, Michigan has Michigan rattlesnakes, eastern rattles, but they're few and far between. You don't have to worry about that. But in other places, like Oklahoma, Florida, and out west, yeah, it's a little bit different. You might wake up with a nice friend.
Oh yeah, yeah. I kicked over a tree on one of our expeditions we just had, and it was just full of snakes, just a ball of them. I guess
Oh
they were
wow.
mating or whatever. And
Mm,
no, no, I can't handle that. Still no audio for Jessie. No, she's struggling. So, Blake, tell us about your channel, man. Plug your channel and let everybody know who you are, what you do, and everything.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm the founder of the Lost Cryptids Conservatory. It's a YouTube channel, and also a Facebook group, Facebook page, and started it back in 2018 as a place to really just put my evidence and stuff. I actually had stuff on my phone and it got broke, and so I wanted a place just to put my evidence, and then it turned into starting my channel and putting my research on there, and um, so I've been doing that ever since, and got the Michigan Bigfoot and Dogman conference coming up this month, actually September 28th, and it's been a wild ride. I feel sometimes like I'm a kid in a candy shop, still looking and investigating and doing the same things and having fun, except for could be a big kid now and and spend money and have a lot of fun and meet a lot of great people and stuff. And it's been a great journey.
that's awesome.
I I didn't expect to even do this either. I had a guy tell me, you need to just, put a video up, put a video up. And I didn't know nothing about YouTube. I was like, well, I guess we could try. But to me, it was just kind of, it wasn't nothing new, I guess, because I grew up around it. To me, it was like everybody around here just, you talk about Bigfoot and it's like, oh, yeah. I mean, it was nothing like, you what? You saw it, and most
Mhm.
of the elders around here, they're like, oh, yeah, he's down there. He's down there. So I was like, I don't think people are really going to care. And then I was surprised. There's a lot of people.
A lot of
Uh,
people care.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people were into it. So what got you started investigating Bigfoot, Blake? What got your interest?
Um, well, really, what got my interest was my dad telling me about the Patterson film and watching uh, History Channel shows back in the mid to late '90s, and there was a channel or a show called Sightings, and
Hmm.
so I watched that with my dad, and I fell in love with like not Loch Ness, ghosts, and UFOs, and all this strangeness caught on videos, the Phoenix lights, and then of course Bigfoot was always the one that really struck home with me, and I became fascinated with, and of course my dad telling me about the Patterson film, and so that's really what got us started. And I started reading books when I was younger. In middle school and stuff, then started going out in the woods at a young age, like all kids do. But around 13, I had my very first encounter, and ever since then, the bug has bitten me, and I've been chasing it.
Oh wow. So what happened at 13?
Yeah.
Well, my mom had passed away, and I a a lot of time we had moved to a place out in the country here in Michigan, and spent a lot of times out in the woods outside and stuff, doing a bunch of different stuff, and then started looking for Bigfoot at nighttime in the middle of the woods, and I'd go by myself with a walking stick or a Bowie knife, and I thought that was pretty adequate, at 13. And
Right.
so I dozens of nights I've already walked, and I'm doing the same thing I've always done, and I would walk in the woods in my side yards and I adjust my eyesight, and I would cross the road, and I would head up into these different I would call micro habitats, a little uh, field that's overgrown, some swamps, some hardwoods, a nice stream, some different areas that look completely different when you got into them, little micro habitats and stuff, I would say. But so anyways, I crossed the road, I skipped going into the side woods, and I was paralleling the road, and all of a sudden I hear this commotion on my side of the road my side woods, and I'm thinking it's a deer. I've jumped dozens of deer at nighttime and other animals at this point. I've just started out, so I'm not really concerned with it. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I make a low whoop. So I make a whoop that maybe 100 yards, no more than 200-yard radius would hear. And then nothing goes on. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Keep walking. I walk another 20 yards. And I hear it again. So I make another low whoop. And I continue to walk 20 steps. And all of a sudden I hear this burst of commotion. I can hear it. And it sounds like it comes down this little embankment. It gets onto the dirt road. And it all happens so fast, but also super slow motion at the same time, it seems like, because when it stepped onto the road, I heard it bipedally take 3 steps. And then all of a sudden it was silent. And then I heard it splash in some water, and it went and dashed towards me, stopping, I would say 30 feet from me. It was in some of these thickets. The moon was out. I can't remember if it's a full moon or slightly under that, maybe half moon, but it was bright, and I could see the tops of the trees moving and swaying and stuff. I couldn't see the creature, but I held my walking stick up like this, shocked. Everything was happening so fast, and thousands of thoughts are racing into my mind. Mainly, I'm about to die from this
Right.
creature, and I stand there for 2 minutes. After 30 seconds go by, it's like, okay, I'm still alive. I see it. I'm going like this because I can't see it. So I'm like subconsciously, consciously, I'm trying to make it so my body language is telling it I can't see the creature. And so at about 2 minutes, I get the courage and say, I have to go back to my house. I can't stand here all night. And I turn and I remember to take one last look, and I head into the brush, and I decide to do a big circle because I decided if I went to the road, I felt like it could ambush me better. I wouldn't be able to hear it. But if I was in the brush, moving around the brush, I probably would be able to hear it. And my head was on a swivel back and forth, looking behind me and flooded of emotions. But I made it back to my house, and I didn't go back in the woods for about 2 months. And then I seriously went back out, and my journey in the Bigfoot world started. And, over the years and stuff, I had more experiences. And then I started recording them, getting evidence, and of course lost my phone. Then I started the channel, and I've been doing this for 20 years now. So 20 years
That's awesome.
since that encounter.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So I noticed I watched one of your films where I think it was you and your girlfriend, and you were using a red light, and you had some pretty good eye shine in that video there.
Mm-hmm.
I could hear you talking about how you thought it was a deer, and I've thought things I walked up on, were deer or whatever until they start moving not like a deer. So, but it's dark, and I think your mind tries to, I don't know, it tries to make you think that it's something you're familiar with, because you'll be like, it's a deer, or it's a coon, or it's a squirrel, but you're looking at something is not what your mind is trying to. It's like you're struggling to try to, I guess because we're told they're not supposed to exist. Do you use like IR cameras or anything like that? I mean, what's worked best for you at trying to find them?
Yeah, well, that red light is a hunting light. And the reason why you use red is because it doesn't affect nighttime animals as much. They don't get as skittish. They're not as used to it. Associating with red lights and in humans, white lights, a lot of animals are actually scared of because it throws shadows onto their sides, and they see the shadows moving, so they get really scared. Red lights and green lights reduce that. I use a IR camera, GoPro, my cell phone, audio equipment is a big thing now, and a big thing I've been doing. And I'm saving up money for a multiple $1,000 thermal, something, because if you buy a thermal, they have different price ranges. If you're going to buy a thermal, save your money, a $1,500 thermal at minimum, because anything less it's not going to be good enough, in my opinion. So saving up for the thermal, I got a nice IR. But that's really it. You don't really need much other than a camera. I would say a good audio recorder. So you can just run it all the time. Have better audio. But if you're just starting out, get a nice little camera. I would recommend GoPros because they're kind of idiot proof and they're super stable. So you can just fumble around in the woods, fall over, and it will look stable and straight.
Right.
They're not the best cameras for everything, but for a first camera, they're pretty good. And but get an IR for seeing at nighttime, and you're pretty good.
Don't those GoPros have built-in stabilizers? The newer ones, I think, do. Yeah.
I'm still using an older. I think mine's a 7. I think is what mine is. GoPro 7 is what I use.
That's what I use. That's what I still have, and
that's what I use.
They work good, and they're a workhorse. And if you get a 7, like a 7 Hero Black and up, you're doing good. You have stabilization and all this. You just gotta stay. GoPros, they like well lit areas, and they get really hot really fast. So they work great in the winter when it's really cold out. They love winter. They will
Right.
keep themselves warm. But in
I've
terms
had
of
mine just
if you want a big deal camera, you know, I'm looking at like $1,000 documentary style cameras and stuff.
Right.
I went and
4K, all that.
I bought a $600 Polaroid camera, and what's sad is my cell phone gets better footage and has a lot better volume than the $600 camera. So
These cameras on these cell phones, especially iPhone and Galaxy and stuff, are really competing with GoPro. They just don't have the stabilization, but they do have as good resolution and ease of use. So
so
everyone basically has cameras now.
do you think that they're able to see the infrared light? Do you believe that light, what everybody says, you think it really stands out to them whenever when we set out the the deer cams and stuff? Do you think it's really like they go to them automatically and destroy them? I hear a lot of people saying that you can set them out if you want to, but if they're out there, they're going to destroy them or take them because they can see the infrared.
Yeah, I think we can hear Jesse now.
Yeah.
There she is.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm a hot mess tonight. Sorry.
Well, hey, you're here though. That's all that matters. So,
Thanks.
yeah, you know, I think they can see IR light.
Yeah.
I was in Florida for the 168 Bigfoot expedition. That was with the late great Carrie Arnold from Bigfoot Odyssey. So I was invited and went down to that expedition, the second one, to Florida, and we had a number of different experiences. But on my channel, it's called the Red Eye Shine, or Red Eye Bigfoot of Florida. There's a couple of different videos I made, but I basically went to this area and we were hearing stuff, and I walk up and I film with a Psionics night vision camera, and I see a reddish purple light that I start filming and stuff. And it's all happening, you know, of course, when you have an encounter, everything's happened so fast and your blood's pumping. But, you know, I start moving the light, and it looks like when I put the IR light onto it, that the creature knew that the light was being shined onto it. And so I'm talking in the walkie-talkie and telling my partners that there's something here. And you see on the video, I take the light and I kind of go like this and put it on it and off of it. And to me, it looks like the creature knew the IR light was being shined onto it, and when it wasn't. So most IR lights use like 840 nanometers of light spectrum, and then you can buy a 900 and like 940 or 930 nanometer light. So deer can see the 800 nanometer light, and no other animals can see that. It's like a lower spectrum intensity IR light. If you buy the 900 one, some people claim that they're not able to see that one. I've not used that particular style, and I've not been able to test it. But I have used the 800 nanometer, and it did see like that creature did see the IR light. So I would say yes, they can see that one for sure. They don't really have to see IR light because some of these trail cameras don't have IR light. They don't have anything that's visibly seen. You know, some, especially the old school ones, you know, some of them are just motion sensors. Some of them are do not have any type of IR until it's activated, and then you'll see an IR light go on to so the camera can watch. But in terms of them triggering the camera, there's no like beam of light. We've also was up north, and someone had a thermal camera, and it appeared to almost as if the Sasquatch knew it was being viewed. There's other times where it seemed like the Sasquatch was just on the outside of where the thermal could read, almost as like if it knew, like it was just outside of it. Thermals don't produce any type of light. They don't shine lasers. They don't shine anything that anything could see. So that is a mystery of how a Bigfoot could know a thermal camera is watching it when there's no light source. IR lights, night vision cameras, they all will throw a light unless it's totally ambient starlight resource. But even then, it's always like Bigfoot. There's a camera or something that's going to watch it, and it avoids it. I'm sure
Right.
they can smell plastic in the woods. They can see some man-made contraption that's on a tree that wasn't there before. I think they can pick up unnatural objects that are placed in the woods fairly easily. They can spot it real quick, and probably smell the plastic.
That's what I was
Depending,
gonna say. I bet their smell is super sensitive.
I know this is a long-winded answer, but depending on how they see, I did a show on ape eye colors, and most apes see in the colors of like a bluish or a red. So reds will stick out, and for like fruits and different colorful foods, the reds will pop out. Or a lot of males are colorblind, and some lemurs and stuff, their eyes glow in the dark because of the night vision reflection off their mirrors. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Maybe Bigfoot can see plastic colors and blues and stuff a lot better, so they're able to see objects out in the woods that would stand out that don't belong there because they're not in the natural shade of things.
I've wondered sometimes too, whenever investigators go out and we're trying to locate them or find them or get evidence, that they know the difference between a camper, a fisherman, from even a coon hunter, because they're not going to be using IR lights as to go fishing. So I was wondering if they're seeing these lights, like what you said, they see the white lights and stuff, and they see you. They're going to be, you're building a fire and you're going fishing. They're like, okay, so they become curious, but then they see the other people show up and they see this equipment come out. You got the infrared, and a lot of people use those bionic ears and stuff like that. And I think they one of my thoughts is on the moon phases. I tried to break down when I first started. I tried to investigate them like I would any normal case, like when I worked, and I started noticing in like the Miss Hamilton, a lot of the attacks, that the moon was not a full moon on the attacks. It was either a waning or a gibbous. Every now and then you had a new moon, but most of the time you had a waning or a gibbous. My thought process on that was they have somewhat of the bars in the eyes, like the animals at night, that there was enough light from the moon that they had the advantage in being able to see more than a human. The full moon, I mean, you go out on a full moon, your eyes adjust even around, around here. You can see quite a ways in a field. So I think they know that. I think that they take advantage. I mean, most predators are smart. They know when the best times are to hunt, and I think that they use their eyesight as much as they do their smelling stuff. But we was talking the other night. It seems like more people that are camping, that are fishing, camping, stuff like that, they get the closer encounters than the people that actually go out seeking them. And I think they know the difference. I think they know that if you're there to camp or fish, or if you're there to actually go after them, if they're the target.
For sure. Yeah, I think with the moon, for the last 2 years, well, more than that, like 3 years, I planned expeditions to be either on a full moon or waning or just before. And it seems like when it's waning or just before full moon, the activity is a lot more. And I think you're right. They just understand people can see a lot better in the moonlight. There's some, if you get into the paranormal side, there's a lot of people who believe, that some, there's some meanings to that. I don't know, a waning moon and waxing moon and stuff, but it really does seem to like they understand people a lot. And if you think about it, if they watched America developed for the last 200 years, but 100 years especially. I mean, America's kind of fell into this routine. Everyone has this routine, especially if you're a farmer and stuff. You kind of have your seasonal chores or your seasonal routine duties that you do. Even a town kind of has a seasonal rhythm and stuff. Normally the people are doing this at this time of the year. The farmers are doing their fields, or October, a lot of people start hunting, so October, November, December, a lot more people, guns, but during the summer, just have to worry about kids and stuff. But I think they've watched campers, they've watched, these people set up and they have all these equipment, and this is what they do. They kind of just stay around the little fire and play, and that's about it. So when they see people doing that, they probably feel more comfortable and like, oh well, this is what they're most likely going to do, so we can get up. And most campers don't expect Bigfoot to be next to their campsite, so that gives them the advantage. They probably understand, especially, I always say, don't if you're going out in the woods, don't act like a camper. They see that already. Just let them know that you're. I always let them know, even if they're not there. I don't know. I you don't know if they're there or not, but I always try to, if they were there, to let them know that I know that they are there, and I'm letting them know that, hey, this is what's up. And that's, a simple, slow whoop, and just go back to doing what you're doing. You acknowledge that if they are there, so it piques their curiosity, like, oh my God, this guy just like whooped at us. Now he's just totally ignored that and is going back to set up camp. And I think it really piques their curiosity. I think if you're respectful, because they're people watchers, so I'm sure they've watched hundreds and thousands of different people in houses or at camp do different things, talk, get emotional. You fight and you bicker with your wife about, oh, you forgot her favorite blanket. Now she's gonna be too cold in the tent and stuff. So she's getting on you a little bit. I'm sure the Bigfoot have seen that in a variety of different things, both good and bad. I mean, you're talking about the happiest moments of a kid's life, camping and families, to, you could have a raging alcoholic, someone violent, yelling at camp. Things happen, humans happen, people's homes. You're watching a window and you're watching someone fight, or worse. I'm sure they've seen a lot of different emotional things from humans. So it's my belief that they can read people's emotions of their face. A lot of people think that I didn't shoot the Bigfoot because it looked so human. I can see the human emotion. So, if I look at like another person from, Japan or China or wherever, I can tell if the dude's sad or if he's mad at me, or, or whatever, based on how he looks, his emotions. And I don't need to understand his language. If he's yelling at me, I can probably tell what's going on. I think the same thing with them. They pick up on that. So when they see someone who's doesn't look like they're looking around on guard, doesn't look like they're looking for Bigfoot, I think they pick up on that. I think they pick up on the people who are look around and, maybe they don't know that Bigfoot's out there, but they seem to be a little bit more on guard. I think they approach things differently. So when you're out there, just go Bigfoot and let them know that, hey, I'm out here doing this and doing that. And they might pique their curiosity even more because you're not the normal camper. You're not doing the norm. It might also make them back away from you because you are chasing them. You already kind of know that these things are there. You're not the unexpected camper that they can just nonchalantly go hang up around and do whatever they want. So it's kind of both. I see it both ways, and that's what makes it fascinating.
Yeah, I kind of think they know, that they're out there. I think they know that.
Go ahead.
So based on what you had said earlier too, I'm assuming then you've never experienced anything like the mind speak. It's always been pretty much vocal and that way. What's your thought on all of the different experiences people are having with the mind speak and such?
I've never been mind spoke with words and stuff like that. I've had feelings of dread, and your mind does play a lot of tricks out in the bush, called like the bush willies. There's been people like Bobo from Finding Bigfoot, Bobo Fay.
Mhm.
James Bobo Fay, he said that he doesn't talk about it too much, but he got mind spoke. He talks about his encounter where he was going to take a picture of a Bigfoot, and he said the words got spoken to his in his head, saying, "If you take this picture, I'm going to kill you." That's what he says. And so I don't know what to think. If I got spoken in my mind out in the woods, I would probably suspect some type of spiritual thing going on before flesh and blood Bigfoot mind speaking to me. Just because I've experienced ghosts and UFOs and even this upright walking dog man creature. So there's a lot of weird stuff, and I can't definitively say if random voice popped in my head that it would be Bigfoot. You know, it could be any number of things actually. But I did read a book. It's called the Grandfather Book, and it is a Ojibwa myth and legends book about their myth and legends and their creation and stuff. They have a story about their cultural hero. Long story short, it's a big story about his journey and his quest. There's a little segment where he goes in the redwoods and he's awakened by this Bigfoot creature staring at him. It's called the Bigfoot creature calls himself the Wild Man, and it's called the Bugajawinian. And they end up talking, but then it says that they conversed in their mind without voice and stuff. So he was mind speaking to this cultural hero. So the story is thousands of years old, talking about Bigfoot with red eye shine that can mind speak. And the Bigfoots say that they are of the creator, and that they won't, basically his people will live differently. They will live off trails. They won't make towns. He describes these Bigfoot people for a generation that is yet to come. So the future generation, he talks about Bigfoot of them being a people, and they won't associate with other people. Native Americans will know of them and may honor them and stuff, but they won't seek them out for communion or companionship. The Bigfoot won't. But they were kind of like a spiritual entity where, they're guardians of the land. And if you call upon them to, you ask to help you find the medicine roots and stuff like that, they will help you. And so in that sort of sense, they were this spiritual entity made by the creator to watch man or be there and stuff. Not so I don't know. If you get into that spiritual stuff, you open a huge can of worms, and it's a slippery slope.
Last night I watched Secrets of the Sasquatch documentary, and they were saying that they were the guardians of the forests. Yeah, that's interesting.
When I done the Girl Scout investigation and was speaking to a lot of those people, it's still the natives are still really high in that area. Their beliefs are still there. They still have the elders, the shamans, and before I could speak to the elders, they had to have a meeting before they would speak to me. And finally, they got back to me and they said, we will talk to you. That the chief said that I was good medicine, is what he said. So it was kind of scary going there because they have their bodyguards and they got their guns and they're they're very serious about the subject. So when I walked in, the first thing we got to talking about actually was I mentioned the word dog man, and that was immediately thrown out. They were like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And I said, that's what we call them. And he said, that's what the white man calls them. And I said, so what would you call them? He said, they don't distinguish the dog man being different from Bigfoot, or they call Sasquatch. They said that they're all the same. And I said, well, how can they all be the same? And, they look different. You have one that looks like a canine. You got one that looks like, people say, a gorilla or whatever. He smiled at me, and he goes, does a Chihuahua look like a Rottweiler? He goes, these are the same thing. He goes, dogs are the same. He goes, some have long snouts, some have short snouts, some have no tails when they're born, some have tails when they're born. Some are large, some are small, some are white, some are brown. He said they're all the same thing. He said we know what they are. We grew up with them. He said we traded with them. They spoke our language. And I said, so what happened? He said they started eating our children and taking our women. And we got to talking about, I was doing a video. I wasn't even cryptid hunting in this video. I have my son with me and I have my little nephew with me. And the lake had dried up. And what we were doing is we were picking up, like, there's horseshoes down there and old horseshoe nails. Sometimes you can find like old plates and stuff from a long time ago. And we just go pick that stuff up. And we was walking the lake. Well, probably about 200, 300 yards from me, there's a tree line. And it's getting dusky. It's almost getting dark. And we're walking back. And we hear the coyotes. They start howling. And I look over and I see them. I see a pack of coyotes over in the trees. And, of course, Logan, he's like, are they going to get us? I said, no. They're not going to bother us. They'll go on, And we're walking, and my son and Logan at the same time, and they about jerked my arm off. They're like, Dad, look. They're walking. And I turn, and they're not on all fours no more. There's like 4 people looking things walking. One of them climbed the tree, and it started shaking the tree really hard. That scared the kids really bad. And I told them, I said, just keep going for the truck, just keep going to the truck. I had my pistol with me, but, in my mind, I'm like, if they rush me, the pistol, you don't have much range. They're going to be on me before I can really engage them. And I'm trying to get the kids to the truck. And I told the elders about this. And I said, do they have like a boundary they can't cross? Because a lot of people talk about boundaries they don't think they can cross. And of course, he laughed again. And he said, no, it's not like a magical boundary. He said, when the white men came, they had guns. And they knew that if they was in the open, they could be killed in the open. So they stayed to the trees. Because they knew in the trees, you can't shoot straight at something. They have the trees to block it. He said, they're very, very, very smart. And the way he talked about them, it was like, there was no debate. It wasn't, well, are you sure? It was like, no, this is what they are. This is what they do. And he said, women and children are not safe. And, that Girl Scout case had a lot of things that happened there that, even the FBI made comments in their reports that they were chasing who they thought to be, Leroy, and he would run behind a tree, and there goes a black dog. And that happened multiple times. And a lot of agents retired after that, after they done that case. Some of them even took their own lives. So there was there's still a lot of, I guess, what we would call superstition in those hills. They still believe and practice the old ways. And they always, they said the one you have to worry about is the Googway, or they called it the face eater. They said it's the bigger, it's the larger, it's the more aggressive. And he said it'll kill man or woman. And it was an experience. It was pretty neat to go talk to them, to, sit and visit with them. But they weren't too much on to taking any of my ideas. They were pretty set in what they were going to tell me. And that was pretty much it. They think it's funny, because I told them, Dog Man, and they were like, no, it's not Dog Man.
Did you say you had an experience with the dog man, Blake?
With something, yeah. And with the Native Americans, one tribe, the Ojibwa or the Algonquin people, considered Sabe, a giant. Sabe, a teacher of one of their 7 teachings of their 7 grandfather teachings. It's number 4, for honesty. While you'll have a completely different tribe, think that they're evil spirits or giants and stuff, and they don't believe them to be the same. So it's kind of the water gets a little muddy when you say Native Americans and they're talking about Bigfoot, because some Native Americans, I think it was like the Omaha, they think Bigfoot is a sign of the Armageddon and stuff. It's one of the signs of Armageddon to come. Some tribes think Bigfoot's a ghost. Some think he's a beast, a giant, an older brother, evil spirit, a good spirit, a nature spirit, a demon, or someone who the creator or the good God sent down and stuff. So there's a guy here in Michigan. He's called Val Zavala. He is a Michigan data miner, and he has reports of Bigfoots with tusks, with tails, with claws, with horns, like double horns, goat horns, sideways, like satyr horns and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's under the impression that they're all the same thing, that these dogman creatures, the creatures with horns, this goat man with a Bigfoot with horns, tusks, they're all the same creatures and stuff. And like you mentioned there, it's like a Chihuahua, a Doberman, a Great Dane, a pit bull, and a pug. They're all a dog. They're all different. My encounter with what everyone calls a dog man, I didn't believe in dog man. I thought it was a misidentified Bigfoot. Maybe with Bigfoot with the long baboon snout or some other type of physical feature we just don't normally see. Until one October 7th day in I think it was 2020. Driving home on this road, we drive dozens of times each and every year. Coming back from the grocery store, kids in the car, girlfriend with me. We're driving. It's dark out. It's sun's going down, but it's not too dark. You don't really need the brights on, but I turn the brights on because we have a lot of deer, just to be safe. And we get down this road and we're going 55, and all of a sudden it happens again. It's super fast, but super slow motion. It seems like when you're in these situations, it seems like time really does slow down when your adrenaline's pumping. But I seen this canine head cross this white line, and it starts running to the middle of the road, and this is happening so fast. But I'm thinking, oh, cool, canine or a coyote. You don't really see them crossing the road. It's still daylight. You don't really see coyotes. I've never had a coyote cross in front of my car that close, so I thought that was cool. But when it got in the middle of the road, I was like, holy bleep, it's a massive wolf. It's huge, and it's a big wolf, and there's not supposed to be wolves in lower Michigan. There are, but especially this far in lower Michigan, there's absolutely no wolves that are supposed to be around. So it crossed the road, it gets in the middle of the field, and as we're about parallel, we're looking, and this wolf gets up and starts running like a person with its arms like this. So I seen the back of it, kind of the side and back of it when we're parallel passing it, and it was running on 2 legs with its arms moving like this. And when it stood up, it had to be at least 6 feet tall, maybe 7 feet tall, because I'm 6 foot, and it was all as tall as me, big. We pass it. My GoPro's right there. I look at my girlfriend. I'm like, we gotta go back, and she's like, no. And the kids are in the car, and I'm just like, and we just keep going farther and farther away, and I'm just like, yep, okay.
Yeah.
And so I guess I seen the dog man, but it wasn't a full blown like muscular werewolf benching 600 pounds. It looked like a normal wolf that just stood up and started running like a person.
Yeah, that's your typical
Now,
wolf.
I don't know. some people think, oh, it was a skinwalker, it was this and that. I don't know if the hands transformed into a human. I couldn't really see if the paws were canine paws or they transformed to like human digit hands. Same thing with the feet. But I got a real good picture of the back and the shoulders. When it kind of went up, like dog shoulders, they don't have shoulders like people. It looked like it had shoulders like a person, broad shoulders that popped out sideways. So I don't know. I don't know. Later that month, we had the Dewey Lake Monster Conference, and I had met up with former retired CIA, FBI agent, and law enforcement guy. We were in a circle in this fire. There's this camper right here, and we're talking about this Bigfoot and Dogman subject, and I tell them about it, and I see what they're wearing and stuff, and I wake up and it's a dream. I go to the actual conference, and at that first night, I'm sitting around the fire, and I look, and it's the same exact positioning of all the people in my dream. They're wearing the same exact clothes. We're at the same place. The trailer's right here. This big tree's right here. We're having a fire. But all of a sudden, I get asked the same exact question that's in my dream, and it freaks me out a little bit. And so I don't say anything to anyone until the next day, and I'm like, hey, I kind of had deja vu, and I explained what happened, and so I have no idea. I don't know what dogmans are. I don't know if they're spiritual. I don't know if the dream is related to the dogman or not, but I just throw it in there because it happened. It was like this deja vu event, and the dogman sighting encounter was in the middle of it. So I throw it in there because I'm not sure what kind of useful information data that it is, if it's related or not.
That's what always threw me off is, a lot of people, talk about them being spiritual. At my granny's house, I always thought, if they were spiritual, why are they eating? Because they ate her scraps. My friend, or my mom's friend, he saw it eating. Then your mind, you think, well, if it was spiritual, would it need a reason to eat? It really wouldn't. You wouldn't think would eat. But then, I spoke to a guy that's he's a minister, and he kind of gave me the theory that I have now. And the theory is that if, and I say if, because I know, nobody knows, but if they come from the Nephilim, they're a descendant of the Nephilim. And the Nephilim, the disembodied Nephilims, they are the demons. Is there that lineage, that connection that draws them to each other? Because I know that, they say that people that have a cryptid encounter, approximately 25% of those people will also have paranormal encounters. So is it because they attract each other? Is it, one is disembodied, the one is embodied, and they know that there is a connection there that draws them to each other? Because what I was wondering the other night, and you may know more about this than me, the spot that I found is a really hot spot. But I'm getting a lot of EVPs in this spot. I've had a few what I would call cryptid encounters. I don't know exactly what it is. I haven't seen it, but I know that it's walking, it's breaking brush, it swam in the creek. It was tall. We saw the eye shine on the light. I don't know exactly what it was, but I know that it wasn't a spirit. But I know the spirits are there because they're talking the whole time this has happened. And it's not a little bit. It's just like, these things are like active. Have you ever had like paranormal happen with you whenever you've had like cryptid?
Yeah, I've seen an orb size about a volleyball size foggy white orb in an area with Bigfoot activity. I look back and I see this orb. It was behind some little thicket of saplings, and it was moving in between. Like a bars. I could see it, and take a second look again, and it was gone. And we went to this area, and I seen a flash of a humanoid silhouette dashed behind a tree. My friend, I told him to go over there, run over there. I told him to go run over there towards the Bigfoot. He did.
Go.
He kind of gets scared. He like any normal person
Yeah.
gets scared at night, but he ran right over there. I did have a gun though, maybe that was why. But these other people started having encounters. It was in the area of Bigfoot. I don't know if they're related or not. I have not come to that conclusion because I need more correlation of Bigfoot is a Nephilim demon or Bigfoot is paranormal. Even though I've had a lot of weird stuff happen, I can't quite determine that yet. I hope Bigfoot's not a Nephilim demon or evil spiritual thing, because that would it wouldn't shock me, if I'm going to be honest, because of what I see in Hollywood and all the evil. You'd have to have your head in the sand at this point to feel like something spiritual is going on when you have the client list Jeffrey Epstein's island has never came out. None of the other conspirators have been caught. Spirit cooking, all this other witchcraft, Hollywood, blah, 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 one eye symbolism. You could go a whole nother show about it. But, I see that and I understand. And, I understand that when it comes to the woods and stuff, it's not so obvious. But other than, like I said earlier before we recorded, you're chasing a ghost in the house, you're chasing Bigfoot in the woods. You never quite see what you're really looking at besides little glimpses. Your camera malfunctions or drains. That happens in both. Sometimes you had weird stuff happening where you hear voices or you hear stuff, but you can't quite put it together. A lot of people think that, Bigfoot disappears and does all this spiritual stuff that ghosts do. I mean, they're very similar. I don't go ghost hunting because, little kids and demonic entities. But at the same time, if you watch those paranormal activity movies, they get all crazy after number 3 and 4. But number 3 or 4, I think when they draw the ghost demon thing, and it is a 7-foot tall monster creature. And if you look at some of the old books of drawings of just demons, a demon of anger and stuff like that, a lot of these demons in these old medieval books are hairy, like Bigfoot looking monsters. They're hairy monsters, and you have the wild man concept of this, the untamed wilderness of the man out in the where, so it has insatiable hunger and lust and beastly ferocity. And so I don't know, but if they were Nephilim demons, so long story short, Nephilims are the offspring of the angels who came down to mate with the human wives. So in the book of Enoch, they all get destroyed, and they all get destroyed and stuff, but some survive. So the ones who die, they lose their physical bodies. They become demons, these restless souls that are there. And there's some native legends here in Michigan. There's this stonework, this mound, and they say that the spirits of the dead of those people who built those are still there. They haunt that place, and they are evil people, evil spirits and stuff. And if you look at some of these older books and references, like the Book of Giants is just a couple of Dead Sea Scroll fragments that talks about, it's presumed that there's a giant who's talking about God's wrath coming down, and they think it's Gilgamesh or some other giant. He says, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but he says basically that the time of the giant has ended, and it is time to become like a beast, like a wild man and stuff. And King Nebuchadnezzar, when he gets cursed, he turns into a wild man, a beast. He transforms, and a lot of the paintings are depicted of, he looks kind of like a Bigfoot. If you look at some of these cultural references to giant, hairy men, wild men, they eat people. They steal the women, they eat the people. A A lot of them aren't good. A lot of them, it doesn't seem like if it's a good spiritual entity, it doesn't seem like that. But if it is an evil entity, then it would be to try to take your connection away from God. So if you're out there, it's trying to just lull you into this sense of false security, and maybe they're waiting for the veil to lift before they can actually be the locust that comes out of the earth.
That's what I believe.
I have one person, he's very adamant that the military is underground right now, bombing and at war with not only these Bigfoot creatures, but other creatures that live under the earth. It's, like Space Force. Well, Space Force isn't really Space Force. It's not for space. It's for extraterrestrial.
Inner space.
Not under Earth, like Hollow Earth, but they have a term that he used. But he said basically there's Hollow Earth expansive reaches underneath America, and there's not only Bigfoot, but there's other things that the military is quote unquote bombing the crap out of, and that a couple years ago we had earthquakes here in Michigan, and earthquakes in odd places that don't have earthquakes. He said that they were dropping heavy bombs down there. I can't confirm this or deny that, but at the same time, the military doesn't want you to know about Bigfoot. They certainly have places that are off limits. Elon Musk does do drilling operations and does make tunnels. There's supposed to be tunnels of trail systems across the U.S. on a ground basis and stuff. That we do know that there are certainly documented secret bases. We have seen old decommissioned bases, and they show us. We do know about Cheyenne Mountain and old Cheyenne Mountain, and then the new one. So we do know that the military and government does do that. So if they were digging holes and they found, these Bigfoot creatures or these other entity creatures that, holy crap, they're in America. If we let the public know, they would freak the crap out, because there's these monsters basically living not only in your backyard, but underneath your house. Right. And they're so much and so many. He said like Bigfoots were like ants, that they're coming out of the ground like ants, and the ones that we see on the surface are just a literally drop in the ocean of what's actually there. He seems to be a very negative light. So if they are demons and stuff, maybe hopefully the government is doing something about it and not in cahoots with them like Hollywood seems to be. Sorry for another long-winded answer.
That's
no,
fine.
You make me think, and I've got a lot of questions. I have no idea. I just have you ever had a hitchhiker, anything follow you back from an investigation?
Again, is it from the investigation, or was it something that's already at the house, or is it someone already attached to other people? Because I've been with people, I've been around people who are like, they have stuff attached to them, like ghost is messing with them all their life, and I start having sleep paralysis dreams about being choked by a ghost, and I wake up and I am about dying of being choked, and I wake up and I'm struggling, I'm moving, and the person is sleeping, dead asleep, and I'm just like, what? How could you sleep through all this? I'm like, felt like I'm screaming, rolling around, and
that's one of the scariest things I ever went through with sleep paralysis.
So I don't know if it's from the woods, or if it's spiritual things that are already here at your house. Like some of those Nephilim stories, the demons that died thousands of years ago, and they're underneath this rock. They're waiting for the precise time period for you to have that house built over that rock, and for you to move in, and for that spirit to then mess with you. Some beliefs are that creature waited the entire time period just for you, just for this exact time period, just to mess with you.
That's creepy.
Some people think that again, a whole nother show of there's rules and regulations when it comes to the spiritual influences of evil that it's allowed on good people. Kind of like the book of Job, how things are allowed to be done to Job. But there's, certain rules and regulations. Some people think that as soon as you're born, karma or whatever, certain things are allowed to mess with certain people a lot more than other people, for whatever mysterious reasons we have no idea. But I would have to say there are definitely evil spiritual entities out there that we hear mostly of. But God says to test the spirits to see if they are of God. So there must be that means that there are evil spirits, but it also means that there are good spirits.
Correct.
We always hear the evil spirits and the plans and what they're always doing. We don't ever really hear about the good side of things, the good spirits. What are they doing? We always hear the evil, dastardly, destructive things. It's always in our face and it's always right there. But what are the good spirits doing? We don't see them. We don't hear about them. There are experiences, but like they're few and far between compared to all the evil ghosts and demons and all that. So there's a huge picture. And I think when those demons are in your face like this, trying to really go at you, it just shows you how weak they are because they have to do this. Sometimes it's the most pathetic stuff that's just trying to annoy you, or to get you so mad that all of a sudden now you're wrathful. Now you're going to yell at your family or do this, and you feel like crap because that little demon with the pitchfork was just trying to poke you enough to influence
sitting there on your shoulder. Yeah.
But that's such a weak attempt that's all it can do is poke you.
Right.
And so that's what we see. That's what we experience. But I think there's this huge connection of this benevolent side of spiritual things that we don't know. I don't know where Bigfoot falls into that.
Yeah.
I would lean towards, if it's a spiritual thing, then it's probably more likely evil, because that seems the majority of things that's in your face, blatant, is that evil side. God is a little bit more mysterious and doesn't like to show off.
I call it like a big spider web. You've got your Bigfoot, your ghost, UFOs, or whatever, all along that it all goes to the center of that web.
Mm-hmm.
Brooks had an actual gray in her house.
Mm-hmm.
She's had one in her house.
Mm-hmm. Scared the crap out of me. Yeah.
She said it looked at her.
Yeah, I was laying in bed, lived in a mobile home, and the way the bed was set up, I could look all the way down the house. And this happened a little over 30 years ago. And my daughter, she was about 3, and I was having a hard time keeping her in her room, to sleep in her room. She hated that. And she never did sleep in her room till we moved out, and she was 11, 12 years old. She slept on the couch. But I'd put her to bed, and I thought, okay, I'm going to watch. And I thought it was her come running out of her room, came through the living room around the kitchen table, and I'm laying there, and it comes up and puts its hands on my mattress and does this. And this far from my face. And I'm going, oh, Shannon? And then, oh, that's not Shannon. That's not her. And the fear in my stomach, and then boom, I was asleep. It was crazy. The next morning, asked my ex, I said, what happened last night? And he just looked at me and he said nothing. Well, he was an alcoholic, and we went to the bar that night, and a friend of ours, his son was a deputy sheriff still in the same county, but it was a different town. It was 2 towns from us to the south. This is in between Lubbock and Plainview. And he said, did y'all hear what was happening last night? Well, we said no. And where we lived out in the country. We didn't have any houses right by us. And I said, no, what happened? And he said, man, they were chasing UFOs all night last night. I went, okay. And I looked at my ex and I said, see there? And he looked at me and he said, I saw it jump up on the middle of the bed.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, and when I hear that, I don't think alien. I just don't think an alien of advanced technology flying in UFOs is just gonna just randomly run up to you and just put its head like that. Like, to me, that makes no sense.
I don't
But if
know
it's
either, but that's what it
some
was. It was a
demonic
gray.
entity, it makes more sense, you know, because you can stop the UFO stuff by
Hmm.
saying Jesus, in the name of Jesus, and those things go away. So if they're aliens who come from a different planet, dimension, don't believe in God or blah blah blah, why would that
Well,
work, right?
yeah.
Unless
Now
it
see,
unless it has authority.
now
And
that's the thing. I don't think they're aliens either from another planet. I think they're from here.
I think it's the deception because, you know,
Yes.
why would an
Yes.
alien do that to you? You know,
Right.
that it seems
Right.
so
Right. Well, this
abnormal.
was, like I said, this was 32 years, 33 years ago. And I mean, and that's when I said, God, I got to know what that was. And that's when he started me on my research on that. And I figured out real quick. And I'm with you. I don't believe there's aliens. I don't, no, I don't,
Yeah, I think
mm-mm.
they're demonic entities, because
I
they just
think
do
so.
things. They do things that makes no sense for an advanced
Hmm.
civilization, like
Hmm.
probing cows. Like, how many decades of probing of cows do you really need to do to figure out what a cow is, or you know, or
100%.
the butt probing and stuff, like, how many times
Yeah,
do you need to do that before you figure out what you need to figure out?
Right.
To me,
that's
that
right.
makes no sense.
Well, and
You
there's
know, stopping
still,
them in the name of Jesus makes no sense. And then
right. And
real
they're
quick,
getting men's sperm and the women's eggs. What are they doing with that?
Aleister Crowley, a very very evil man, when he spent the night in, like, the Pharaoh's tomb and got possessed and all this other evil mumbo jumbo stuff that they believe in. He was in talks with an entity. I can't remember what the name is.
Yeah,
Probably a good thing not to say it anyways. But he when he drew it, it was basically a gray alien with, like, a little
yeah.
goatee mustache type of thing,
It was
and
weird looking. Yeah,
very weird alien stuff. And, you know, it was after that a lot of the UFO stuff started happening. And so, to me, I think, you know, you have spiritual entities because we're spiritual. You said earlier, why do
yeah,
these creatures need to eat? Well, we need to eat. We're
yeah,
spiritual. We're spirit flesh, you know, in a spirit in this flesh. If uh,
yeah.
they're not the same, but a diluted version, you know, a false creation based off us, you know, they might have some of the same mechanisms where they have to eat and stuff, but they're still a spiritual entity of the sorts, but they have to eat and they have to fuel this flesh body. And
That's right. And well,
I
okay, Lot. The two angels came to Lot at Sodom and Gomorrah, and Lot fed them. They ate.
You know, one of the things I struggled with was, and Blake, you may have an explanation for me because I still struggle with this. Whenever I was younger, uh, my granny had a stroke, and you know, my granny and her kids had all dealt with all this Bigfoot stuff all their lives, and then it went into my life as I was growing up. She had a stroke, and the six girls were taking turns taking care of her. Like, one would stay 2 nights, and the next girl would stay 2 nights, and they was taking care of her at her house. And she had a bell that she would ring, and she would ring the bell when she needed something. And one night I was staying with my mom, and she was watching her that night, and we kept hearing the bell ring, and it wasn't grandma. Something was standing outside of the window ringing the bell. So it irritated me because I was like, well, Granny's sick, and it's to me it was being mean. It was irritating her because she was really ill at the time. So me and my cousin, we decide, you know what, we're gonna kill it. So we go up and stay at my house, which is probably a half a mile away, and we wait till dark. And all I had was a 410, old bolt action 410. He had a 22, and was like, we're gonna kill it. So nighttime came. We snuck down. There was some old oil tanks. It was above our house, the old oil tanks. So we crawled up on those, and we had a good, view of the house. And there was a yard light out front that, pretty much lit the front of the house, but the back of the house, it was dim, but you could see if something was out there. So we're laying there watching. She had a bunch of shade trees around the house, and they would get in the trees too. But we were sitting on the tanks, and we saw it. It was walking at the back of the house. And I said, there it is. And we went after it. We went toward it. And when we went toward it, it ran into the old hog pasture. And in the old hog pasture, there was a pond. It had dried up and it was full of cattails. And Grandpa had a piece of tin that was laying over where the pond would overfill. It would flow out. There was like a little drain, and he had a piece of tin over it where you could walk across it. We chased it into the cattails, and we could hear it walking in there. And we're looking for it, and it's dark, and we got these little mag lights at the time. Took the D batteries. We're trying to find it. And we're looking, and the next thing I know, there it is. But I can't see what it is. I just know there's something in front of me. It's black, and it's not like what people say. It was not huge. It was probably even shorter than me, maybe a little. It was stocky, but it wasn't nothing that was enormous or unhuman. And I shot it. I shot it point blank. My cousin emptied. He had a semi-automatic 22. He emptied his gun on it. It fell. I mean, it fell right on the tin, just like somebody would. It collapsed. It hit the tin. But like, damn. Killed it. So I start reloading my single shot. It's a single shot 410, and he's sitting there pulling the tube out, trying to put bullets in the dark out of his pocket. And this thing raises up and it runs. Well, it ran probably 50 yards up behind the old chicken house. Well, my mom and them inside heard us shooting, so the porch light comes on, and they come driving the car around the side of the house, and they got the light shined out where we're at toward the chicken house and all. And what really confused me was on the ground. I hunt a lot. And you know, when you shoot an animal, you get that arterial bleed. You get that real thick, dark, almost just purple blood. And there was a trail of that blood, almost like it was clotting. I mean, a real heavy bleed all the way up behind that chicken house. You could hear it behind the chicken house. It was growling, and it was scratching. It sounded like it was running its fingernails down the tin. So my mom and them, they call my uncle. He was in Vietnam, so he just lived like maybe a mile or two away, and he comes flying down there. And I was wanting to go back there and finish it off, and our moms were like, no, you're not going back there. They were yelling at us, telling us to get in the house and everything. And finally he shows up with my dad, and whenever they go to looking, whatever's behind the chicken house, it takes off running, something big. It was bigger than my dad. My dad was 6'6", 350 pounds, and Dad's like, it was way bigger than me. And it took off running, but they said it had something over its back. Well, at first they thought that what it had over its back might have been like chicken feed or something. But then later on, my uncle came back down and he said, your mom and them probably saved you, because that was probably one back there waiting on you, and it was the injured one that it took with it. But when you see blood like that, and they eat, and then people say they're vanishing, it's hard for me to. Are they flesh and blood? Are they spiritual? It confuses me.
Yeah, it's especially with technology like drones in the skies now, like the DNR and governments are using drones with thermal to count wildlife, and so there's drones going up in the skies more and more every day, but yet Bigfoot is always able to know that there's cameras on it, or they just know, right? They just know, like, there's this drone that's a half mile away in the sky that I can't even hear. It's pointing its camera at me right now. I should hide. Like, somehow they just know, like, the camera's turned on, the equipment's turned on, and they're filming. So that, to me, that doesn't make sense. And a lot of people in the Bigfoot community are starting to ask why. How is that possible? 50 years of, well, yeah, everyone has a camera in their pocket for the last 10 years almost, and no one, we don't have hundreds of thousands of photos being taken, but yet everyone keeps having encounters and stuff. So like something's going on. If they are flesh and blood, how are they able to sense or know there's a camera, especially when there's a drone you can't see or hear? How would they know that there's a camera turned on? How do they know this stuff? And there's these questions that I don't have the answer for. I mean, if you point towards the spirituality of things, there's some answers, but it's not really answers, because you don't again, we don't have the physical proof or observation, and you can't say, oh yeah, it's a demon or it's a ghost or it's a spirit of the creator just to watch us, protect nature or whatever. You can't even say that. It just opens a Pandora's box of more questions, not really an answer. Oh, they're a spiritual entity. That's why they can do it. Well, you just open 1,000 more questions of why. So that's the great mystery. I think that's why a lot of people are in it. But if they are spiritual and stuff and they are evil, it's all influencing people. And I think we've seen and maybe dealt with some people who, have a lot of anger or evil intent, and it makes no sense other than, again, if it's spiritual and in an evil, malevolent spirit, it would make more sense of why you have a lot of weird people doing weird stuff in the community. I had a buddy, he said, you should pay attention to people's names and what they call their channels and stuff, because there's underlying symbolism there. And he's not someone who, I trust what he says and what he kind of tells me. And he doesn't give you the answers, but he'll give you the information so you can go look and see for yourself. And so that kind of been sticking with me. And to me, it's spiritual. And I really hope it's not connected to the Hollywood spiritual evil. I really don't, because I enjoy doing this. I don't think, unless God had a real purpose, I don't think he would like me or let me go running around chasing demons in the darkness with a flashlight just to have fun. I mean,
right.
I mean, do you think it's possible, if, again, a big if they are Nephilim, do you think that it's possible that they don't have all of the attributes of their father, or, it kind of like breeds out over time, that maybe they have adaptive camouflage that is above what we're able to see with the technology we have, and that's why it is blurred. That's why they're able to just vanish, that they have a different kind of camouflage than what,
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've experienced stuff that was invisible. Like I said, ghosts can be invisible, right?
Mhm.
Bigfoots. I've had something walking in the woods during the daytime walk me out of the woods, and I filmed it. I'm in a clearing. Wow. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna turn around. I'm in a clearing. I'm gonna see him. I'm gonna film him, and I start filming, and there's nothing there, and I keep hearing it, and it's right there. It should be 60 feet away from me, and then I hear. It sounded like one. I heard two go around me, and when they're both parallel to me, I'm thinking I can't see him. I'm in the middle of the woods. No one knows where I'm at. It's like, okay, I'm going back to the car. And I get up to the car, and I hear them walk up to me, and they're like just over this little hill. They're right there. I can't see them. I don't know what it was. Can't say if it was Bigfoot, Dogman, spirits, or I don't know. Other than there's this invisible entity that was walking and followed me out of the woods. I did film that. It's called. It's one of my earlier videos. I think it's Paralleled Out of the Woods, or it's been a long time. I can't remember the title, but it freaked me out. But I don't know what it is. I don't. If they're evil spiritual entities, maybe they get diluted from the physical form, but they're still spiritual evil and stuff. So they can be, they do things that just doesn't make sense. And my experience with dealing with paranormal ghosts and people who claim themselves to be influenced or possessed, a lot of it never really seems to be like dastardly evil, like, a monster's coming at you with, about to kill you, or, a lot of it is annoyance. A lot of it's inconveniencing you. Like, they have this power to do a lot of stuff, but it's mediocre at best, and it's more or less your reaction and how you react to it that's influencing you. So when people, so I don't know, I see this weak spiritual dark energy that really can't really do much. If you're a spiritual person who has faith and believes that, this is pathetic and weak, please try harder, compared to you know, when you're out in the woods and you're having all this major stuff happen, you know, if that is a real spiritual entity, that thing out in the woods is doing more to me than, you know, a ghost in the house or this person who claims to be a witch and astral projects in the graveyards and eats with spirits. And, you know, I've had some experiences where, again, people have said some stuff to me that there's no way they should know. They were drunk out of their minds, should not be waking up talking like this coherently. And it's like, I've had some weird, unexplainable stuff that it's kind of hard to even really explain and get into. But where I thought, yeah, this is evil, this is spiritual, this is demonic, and that is mediocre and pathetic compared to all the stuff that happens in the woods. So if it's demonic energy that's happening in the woods and it's able to do those things, I think it's pretty powerful. But again, there's this rule set where I don't know. I've never been attacked. I'm still here. If they are demons manifesting, there's some reason why they're not able to do something to everyone. Some people they can influence to do something more too, but there's a reason why they're not able to just steal you or your family away on a live stream, or there's a reason why they don't bust into people's houses and take whoever they want whenever they want. Like there's something more dynamic going on that we just don't know. Maybe they're not demonic at all. Maybe they're just flesh and blood, and we just don't understand why they can do all these things. That's why there's just more questions than answers on no matter which way you fall. But until I really get a defined like slap in the face of these things are spiritual or these things are demonic, I kind of am the flesh and blood side of things. But I do peek over the fence and look and see, and so I just don't know what exactly is going on. I have a lot of theories and opinions, but until I really get slapped in the face of a clear picture of one side or the other or where to put them, I just put them in the flesh and blood. And there's a lot of weird stuff that happens in the woods, so just pick up your camera and start filming.
Uh-oh.
It looks like we lost Mike for a second.
And Brooks?
Yeah, sure. She'll be back here in a second.
You know what? I'm going to take this opportunity since I can actually ask you some questions now. I don't know if you've seen me over here. I'm like, oh. So, okay. I want to kind of go back a little bit and ask you some of the stuff. I've been taking notes. So one of the things that, and I have a theory about something, when you were talking about why they were to be afraid of the name of Jesus and obey that and leave and go. My own thought is that through the web and through the connection, now, and I've watched plenty of different other episodes and shows of anything from exorcism to paranormal, cryptids, aliens, name it, I've seen it. But one of the things that really stuck with me was in an episode of some exorcism type videos and stories. They talked about how even demons will not, I'm trying to think of the way they said it, like take the name of the Lord's name in vain. And so if you tell these other entities to leave in Jesus' name, they will leave. And I often think about the fact that we as human beings have the free will, whereas all of these entities, whether they're spiritual, cryptid, they don't have necessarily that same range of free will. And when we, as under the veil of God, say you must leave, that is why. It's not necessarily that they're afraid, but that's why they technically must listen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's something to it. There's some type of reason. I pray before I go out. I mean, when I've had encounters and I'm scared, I mean, there's nothing going on. You get scared of the darkness. You imagine stuff that's going to happen. I pray and stuff all the time, and I've had stuff happen when I've prayed or before they're prayed. And sometimes I'll pray for if for to let things happen, but only if it's not demonic and stuff, because I don't want to be messing with that
Right.
stuff. And I've had Bigfoot stuff happen, so I don't know. I do think that there's a reason why aliens listen, or these entities listen to the name of Jesus. There's a reason why, and
That's right.
and it's another reason why these demons can't do anything to you unless you really allow them to, because again, your free will has to allow them to influence you, or they mediocrely stick you with the pitchfork until you get so
Yeah.
mad at your computer not working for some mysterious reason, and then you blow up. Now that's the real that's what they've wanted, is to get you mad. Now you're wrathing and causing drama and craziness in the house. But all they could do with their power is just make your computer not work and just poke you, not really
Right.
hurt you, not do anything, but it's you allowing them to influence you by getting mad and stuff. See, and I think it's more the little things like that, not these, oh my God, this big evil vampire that's living in this castle in the middle of the woods that's invisible, and it's out there, this evil entity that's feasting on people. I think it's this mediocre. These things really can't do much to us unless we allow them to, and they
Yeah.
do the
I
most
agree.
stupid, pathetic stuff that it's truly pathetic, but it works on people, so that's why they do it. You have the devil that shows up in front of your face, you're probably going to be scared, and but if you have these little influences that try to push you and sway you, and you really don't see it, and you don't even know why you're so angry, or why you're this and that, or you're letting some person upset you so much, and they're being under the influence of these things. I think it's more or less like that. So maybe Bigfoot and all these entities are these bigger, powerful things that are waiting for the veil to be unleashed, so they can, like the Bible says, come out like locusts and attack people, and then people,
Yeah. That's
basically
what I
will
think.
drop dead from fear and don't know what to do. And I
You,
don't know.
the
I don't
Bible,
know where the grand picture of things are. So it's just weird, especially with everything going on. It's the world is on a crazy roller coaster going downhill pretty fast, and sometimes Bigfoot's a nice getaway from all that. And it would really suck if it's more of the same. I wouldn't be shocked, but it would take a lot of fun away from us.
yeah,
I've
well, I
even
do.
wondered sometimes, is the woods, and then places that we go and we research and everything, and the reason that they're so active, is that the dry places?
I don't know. I mean,
You know,
we don't know what the ancient sites are, or if there's a particular rock that houses a spirit that's been waiting there for eternity, just for you to go bigfooting there. Now it's going to mess with you and influence you in
Right.
some way.
I know, my granny's house never had any problems. Never. Until my uncle went spook hunting with his girlfriend, and they had fun getting scared on the weekends, setting out in this field, and they saw what they called spook lights back then. And of course the girls would get scared and they'd cuddle up to the guys, and it was just a fun deal,
Mhm.
until one night something jumped on his car, ran off the front of his car. They got scared. They, flew home. And that night, Granny said you could hear it walking around outside. It sounded like, she compared it to a coffee pot perking, like the breathing. And ever since then, things just got worse and worse. They said the car had fish scales all over it. It stunk really bad. But after that, I mean, it wasn't all physical, is the weird thing, because they had the physical, but then they would be asleep at night and they would hear what they said would sound like, beans would fall all over the kitchen floor. Sound like somebody just dumping a bag of beans and just dumped them. And you go in there and there's nothing there. Uh, my aunt woke up one night and said she saw it standing in the doorway, and she was scared. And there was so many of the kids, there was 8 of them, that, some of them slept with Granny, some of them slept in their own rooms as they were older. And she said she was afraid, so she covered her head up. And she waits a little bit and she uncovers her head, and it's at the bed. standing over the bed, this big, large shadow, whatever it is. And she's too afraid to wake anybody up, so she covers her head up. And when she covers her head up, she said she pulls up the blankets and it walks past the end of the bed and it runs its fingernails across the bottom of her feet as it walks into the other kids' room. And then she finally wakes my granny up. But when Granny gets up and turns all the lights on, nothing's in the house. All the doors are locked from the inside. The windows are locked from the inside. Where did it go? How did it get out?
Mm-hmm. And again, it's this. If you think a real, true, spiritual, evil entity that's there would do a little bit more than, oh, I'm just gonna caress your
Right.
feet and then go into the kids' room to,
Right.
that's all. But if you really think about it, how come it didn't attack the kids? It didn't attack you. It's right there. Why wouldn't it? A real monster in real life would. You put a wolf in there in that same situation,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure it's going to bite someone sleeping. But these
Mhm.
Right.
creatures, wait for you to wake up and wait for your reaction as they do this. Like I said, mediocre stuff. In the moment, it's scary as crap. But if you think about it, I mean, what really did the creature do or these things do? Well, they scared me. And like they waited
Mhm.
until I was looking and then they just moved. They didn't
Right.
like physically attack me, bite me, or throw stuff at me, although we get reports of that. And again, is there some type of physical barrier rule set where I'm allowed to show you myself and do a little something, but I can't really do anything because I
Right.
really have no power other than to scare you and to make you think
The-
certain ways and influence you like that.
The,
That's
the
why I find so weird
boogeyman.
and fascinating. It's like, if it's aliens who fly in alien spaceships, how come they can't do anything more than that? And how
Right.
come ghosts and demons do the exact same thing? They can't do anything more than that.
Yeah.
And then it makes you wonder, where are these missing people going? The 411. The ones that go missing,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
ones they do. The ones they
Mhm.
find that are dead. That they've searched that area over and over and over. And I've noticed on a lot of his shows, the weapons, the hunters, their guns are always spread apart. Now their clothes and stuff are always folded and at a certain place, but if you'll notice the guns, one guy had two guns. One was way down here, and his pistol was way up on top of the mountain.
Well,
And
and even some of them, their rifles were bent, right?
right, yeah, it's like the guns. They'll take the person, but not the weapons. And then we know, I guess, that some of these things, Dennis Martin. I mean, some of these kids and adults, they do go missing. Some are found dead, and some are never found. And it makes you wonder, why some people but not others? Why can they take some people and not take other people? Or why can they kill this child but it doesn't kill this child?
Yeah, I have no idea, and I don't know if Bigfoot's doing it all. I think some of it sounds like Bigfoot. Could be, he puts it out there that there's UFOs been sighted. There's portals that maybe pop up, and I think there's just more going on than we would know. And
And I think there's more than Bigfoot out
yeah,
there too.
some of the weird ones, like in town, where this guy goes missing and then his body is found behind the town hall in a little pond, retainer pond right there that's already been searched. There was a recent one where they were on a farm and they're searching all these little retaining pools and drain them all. I think a year later, they find him. They find him by just looking at the pond that he's there, and it was searched, drained. There's nothing in there, and now the body's plopped in there.
Right.
Some of these, there's reports actually from Val. He has reports of Michigan farmers in the 50s got attacked by Bigfoot. Several different stories. There's one with a head of a farmer twisted backwards and his gun was bent. There's two farmers in a little town here in Michigan that were attempted kidnapped. One got knocked out. The other one, they were both grabbed like two pigs. You would carry two pigs under your arms like that. The Bigfoot started carrying the men before it got scared and dropped them. There's several of them that got attacked and stuff. And I just don't know what's going on. Again, if these are physical demonic entities who are conscious and know, things, and you think they would take guns, if they're a physical being here and they need weapons, but they leave the weapons. If it's just Bigfoot and stuff, and they can mate with people, being some type of hybrid species, eventually, you think you would catch one. They would leave evidence. There would be something that you could tie into them, but we don't have any evidence of that. There's no there's some footprints, there's some anecdote stuff, but there's no nothing caught on film. No one says a Bigfoot took my kid. Some people, like Dennis Martin, the Key family, said that they seen look like a bear carrying a kid or something. There was
Right.
another story of a kid being took, and then some other family seen it on top of some mountain ridge where no one could even get up there, and there's kids sitting up on this rock. When they get a better
Dangling his
look,
feet.
it looks like he got yanked backwards. Of course, they can't see what yanked him, but it looks like the kid gets taken. They never find the kid. I don't know if it's physical, and it's Bigfoot. They can run really fast and grab a little 50-pound kid and dash 12 miles, and search and rescue is looking in, a mile's radius, 5-mile radius. They're already long gone. And that's why probably you can't find them, because they're not even in the area anymore.
I think some of those 2 and 3 year olds, they find them 30 miles away. Once they find alive.
Yeah. My son's 5, but when when he was 3 and 4 and even 2, I take him out in the woods and take him outside, and there's no way that those toddlers could go even 5 miles. 12 miles, no way. I mean, even after getting stuck and getting in prickers or an obstacle, they just turn around and ask to be picked up. And it's like, there's no way that this little kid, even my 5-year-old, there's no way that he's running.
And a lot of those kids were
they're not
barefoot.
going that far.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way.
Should have met my kid at 5. You may change your mind.
Maybe the reason they find some kids alive is search and rescue gets there faster than whatever took the child thought they would, and they know that if they leave the child, the search and rescue's done. Because once they find the missing person, everything's called in, and maybe they know that if they don't find the child, I'm in a bad spot here. They're going to find me. I've wondered a lot of things. We had something happen a long time actually on my lake. It's back whenever I was like 17, and one of my buddies was on the search and rescue team. A man and another man flipped their boat over out in the middle of our lake. Our lake is really dark. It's got a lot of tree stumps. It used to be a city that was flooded, and they had 2 kids with them. Well, they found the adults out in the lake. They had found the trees in the lake and had hung onto the trees, so they found them with the helicopter, and they ended up pulling them out. The children weren't found immediately, but they did have life jackets on, so they knew that, and it was like 50-degree weather. They ended up finding the kids the next day, but the weird thing about it, he said, my friend was actually the one that found them. He said when they found the kids, the dogs actually is what hit on the kids, and the kids were away from the water line. He said about 50 yards. They were up kind of underneath a big tree that had fell, and there was leaves and sticks covering them like they had covered themselves up. But he said, we know that kids in pitch black down there, soaking wet in water, they don't know where their dads are at. The boats flipped, they've floated to bank. They don't have no idea where they're at. They didn't go up there and lay down by that log and pull leaves and sticks over them. But, whenever they write the report, they drowned and died of hypothermia. But they don't never mention, how they were found or
Mm-hmm.
He said, he's been on a lot of search and rescues, and he said that was just weird. He said we brought it up many times, and it was never pursued. It was just they drowned. It was an accident.
Well, a lot of that is David Paulides says local reports for local consumptions or local newspaper stores for local consumption. So, yeah, they just drowned it. It's no big deal. And they sweep the rug. And meanwhile, the sheriff, my ex-law enforcement buddy says, the sheriffs in your counties know what's going on. And they know, a lot of sheriffs grew up around there. They're in the know. They're people of information. They know what's in those counties. They know what's going on. And here in Michigan, if you hear about the bear problem here in lower Michigan where there's no bears, they're not talking about bears, So the sheriffs know about this. And I was even told that some sheriffs, they have no idea what's really going on. They know something's going on. There's creatures, there's things, missing people, but they don't know exactly how and why it's happening. But for some reason, they're definitely not allowed to talk about it. The government doesn't talk about it. If it's classified information for national security purpose, then there is a reason why Bigfoot is classified and not to be told to the public for whatever reason.
I learned one thing whenever I worked. They will never admit to something they can't control.
Especially if it's everyone's backyard and they can't control it and it's going to scare the crap out of everyone. They don't want that. They want everyone nice, easy going, go to work, go to school, come home, put the TV on, go back and repeat. They don't want, oh my God, there's all these monsters living in your backyard or forest or underground underneath your house. Oh yeah, there's like 350 million of them in North America alone. Sorry, we've been at war since the 80s with them. We can't really. Don't go into caves. Now all the national forests are preserves for them, so they can eat the deer instead of eating you. There are reports of the DNR knowing that they're on these preserves and nature preserves and state game areas in the national forest because they're keeping them well fed so they don't eat people. The Miller report talks about that. These beasts have a ferocity of hunger that can't be satisfied and that humans cannot live with them, can't coexist because they're if they run out of deer, then they start preying upon people.
Yeah.
And it's funny how the wild hogs all of a sudden in the last 10, 15 years had a huge explosion.
Yeah. Well, look at the giants in the Bible. They were eating everything until they ran out of food and they started eating people.
Right.
I mean,
so did our government introduce the wild hogs to help feed them?
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, we never had them here, and we're overran with them here now. I mean, we got wild
Texas is too. Yeah.
As in the days of Noah. I mean, it's almost scary to think that you could go fishing, and you may be on something's, dinner menu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you always, I think that's why you have to pray and keep a faith. I mean, no matter what's going to happen, you're in God's hands. So no matter what, I always feel safe. So, but I think there's just a lot more out there. I think there's, physical flesh and blood creatures, and I hope Bigfoot is just somewhere on that totem pole of normal animals that are just out of the norm, But this world is spiritual, and I think anyone who's been around long enough has experienced something that they can't explain, something abnormal, and that's why it's so fascinating to be in this subject. Not only Bigfoot, but other cryptids and weird ancient civilizations, lost treasures. The Ark of the Covenant is this ancient treasure or technology or something that has magical powers. And I think there's a lot more lost history. The lost cryptids are these lost monsters or lost creatures we knew we had names for. We had all these ancient names and monsters and myths and legends. Modern man has completely forgot. We have amnesia, maybe on purpose, purposely forgot about all this stuff. And so now it's, there's this Bigfoot out there. We don't know what they are, even though our ancient cultures said this, and this, and this, and this about this, and this, and this. It's just made up. But this ghost stuff that we're experiencing is kind of weird. We have no idea what it is, but
Yeah,
so we have this like lost memory of all these things that we're experiencing.
I
The
agree.
elves, the missing people, the sea serpents, the lake monsters, the flying thunderbirds, UFOs, whatever.
Right.
We all used to have names and know about them and legends and facts from experiences, and now we're just like, what is this big hairy naked man running around the woods for? What is this ghost poking my edge of my bed for? What is this alien trying to probe cows for? Like, it doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
It's so
Just like
fascinating.
I had a lady the other day. She sent me a handwritten letter. It's probably 5-6 pages, and she sent me just photographs. And she's going to come on the show hopefully. And her and her dad was abducted. And she said what she's going to tell me is going to blow my mind. And it's like, it's interesting to me because my son, before we had an encounter one night, I didn't see it, but he did. He said, Dad, there was a big orange floating ball that went through the woods. And I kind of, laughed at him. I said, whatever. He's like, no, Dad, really. And it wasn't 30 minutes later, the whistling started. And my mom, she was sitting down there fishing. And next thing I know, man, I hear this rock like whiz past my head, and it busts my mom in the side of the ankle. And I'm like, okay, maybe, we should leave. So we start packing up our stuff. And then I got it on tape. One of them smashes right into my truck, just dents the back of my truck in. And I'm like, yeah, something definitely don't want us down here. So, we left. And my son was like, I told you, Dad, it was a big orange ball floating through the woods.
So again, why, if Bigfoot is able to do that, why is he throwing rocks at you?
Right. It's kind of like, it's almost childish, kind of like childish stuff. Like, when you was a kid, you'd see the neighbor kid and you chunk rocks at him. You're not really trying to hurt him, but you're kind of trying to hurt him, but you're just being ornery. You're being kind of mean.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff makes me think they're just flesh and blood, like an ape or a humanoid, because they do a lot of like great ape characteristics and stuff, and throwing the rocks, trying to scare you out of area, not outright killing you, not a lot of non-violent tactics to get you out of the woods, which is very, flesh and blood. If it's an ape, very intelligent creature to be able to non-violently, non-confrontationally take a person and get them out of the woods by simply scaring them and throwing rocks and stuff. But if they are like a great ape and stuff, we don't have reports of them dead bodies of Bigfoots who challenged other males, like you see in the animal kingdom when one pack animal or leader becomes old, the younger ones, they fight, and it's usually to the death. We don't see that. We don't have reports of that. We don't have reports of two different groups going to battle and going to war. Chimps go to war sometimes with each other, and it gets very bloody and brutal. We don't have reports of that. We don't have reports of cannibalistic tendencies where some bears will eat bear cubs of a different female so they can mate and have we don't hear that. We do what we see from gorillas and what we don't see from chimpanzees is the gorilla's gentle nature. And you see gorilla males in zoos, and they're very playful with their kids, and they're very sorry, give me a second. Gorillas are very playful and gentle, and they caring for their kids, and they even play. And I'm about to show some different videos on a different show, but they play with them. And they play bite, and they do all this gentle nurturing and stuff. And they say gorillas are like that because they're so big and dominant that they know that they are, and that this whole gentle side that they have, you don't see in chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are very warlike and brutal and violent, even towards their own family members, and they mutilate each other and stuff very regularly. But gorillas don't do that, and when they fight, it's very brief and it's over without very much bloodshed or violence. And older males don't get killed by younger males and stuff. They do get beat up and they get driven off, but they can still stay in the same group. They don't fight to the death and stuff. So maybe Bigfoot is like that. And it does promote a better family group. Your children are more likely to survive in adulthood without the males beating up on the kids or getting violently angry because a kid, pinched him too hard and stuff. You can see gorillas play and do a lot of stuff. There's one gorilla in the zoo who he developed a habit of he grabs the newborn babies and he gets chased by the females. He thinks it's funny. He grabs the newborn baby and he'll go running. He runs upright like a person. He'll run, and the female mothers will go chasing after him, and they're all like, "Oh my God, you're going too fast!" And it's very human-like.
It is.
But
I've
he's as
seen
gentle
that.
as possible, and I would like to think if they're flesh and blood that Bigfoot are kind of like gorillas, that they're this gentle giant who watched people and observed and learned to do things non-violently. I can make you scared out of the woods just by knocking on some trees or throwing a little rock at you. It doesn't have to hit you. It's more than enough to get you out non-violently. And I think when they watch people, they observe us, they can read our language, our emotional facial language, and they understand people. They understand when we're mad and angry, and they can tell in each other. And I think they understand us in that sort of way a lot more than we realize. And if they are these gentle giants, it could explain why they don't really kill people outright. I've done some dumb stuff. I've chased after Bigfoot. I've thrown rocks, and I've done stuff on purpose to cause some type of commotion. And it's always seemed like they were good sport, calm, cool and collective. Let me know that they were there, and like, hey, they did throw this big old boulder size or bowling ball size rock in a creek, and it scared my research partner to death. He's like, "Oh my God, did you hear that?" And we caught that on video, actually. It's, the
Time to go.
Allegan investigation part 1 and 2, but they, it wasn't at us. It was like
Right.
over here, and they could have threw that bowling ball sized rock and splattered me. I'd be a pancake. I wouldn't be alive. You're just dead. You don't see it. You can't see him throwing it. You're not going to see it or hear it. But yet they choose not to do that. They just threw it over here to scare us.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that seems like if it's flesh and blood, that it's an intelligent giant, gentle giant. I hope, because if they were like chimpanzees, you would be violently attacked with your arms and digits ripped off and bit off, and you wouldn't survive a lot of these encounters. In my opinion, they're not as violent and stuff when it comes to humans, but we do have missing people. Maybe they've learned that if they take people, hundreds of people will come here, and it's not good. But also some of those clans or whatever you want to family groups, if we take a person and we run 20 miles this way, they're not going to go 20 miles this way, and all we have to do is wait. I mean, after 10 days, most searches are over with. They're not spending any more money unless you're going to spend it yourself. So about 10 days or a month, there's no more human activity. We don't have to worry about it anymore. So some groups maybe learn that it's not a good idea. Some groups maybe have learned that, we can get away with it. We just got to spread it out. Every like the 401, like every decade or so, people forget, people retire, people die.
Yeah.
People become newspaper, different organizations change. So like you have kidnapping every decade. Well, people really don't remember what happened in the last decade and the decade before that.
Well, and the National Forest don't even keep lists of names of people that disappeared.
It's kind of like Thanksgiving. Well, kids, I know you like the taste of those little kids, but we can only get one a year. That's all we can get away with. Kind of like everybody has a turkey a year.
Something. So I think they're individuals.
That's a bad example.
Dynamic, so maybe you got one group. It's like, well, here's our Thanksgiving meal for the year, and some are like, oh no, don't do this because this is going to be bad for us. And so maybe they are this. And going back to the grandfather book, the Native American story about the Bigfoot talking about his people to this native hero, he says that they are a people, and And this was in a time of the world where violence wasn't upon the earth yet or again. Like this was a time period where apparently violence wasn't really a thing. It had been a thing, but violence, basically the hero had a violent thought of defending himself. And it was the first time that the violence had been thought of in a long time. So basically, if a people, if people can be good and can be, non-confrontational and avoiding Native Americans and humans, but over time being influenced themselves and being a people are people. People change, things happen, people become, opinions change, and maybe the Native Americans changed. Maybe they started kidnapping people and not becoming because it sounded like they were watchers in a guardian sort of sense, and something to these human violence and tendencies were kind of beneath them, sort of thing. It's implied, not said, but it seems like people change. Maybe Native Americans, white man destroyed all the forests, and now they hate white man, or they hate natives, or they something changed to where they started kidnapping and eating people when they
who's to
previously
say
weren't.
one of the natives didn't kill one of them first?
Being a people, you have defaults and stuff. So it would make more sense if they are a people like us, and they're all individuals and they do different things. And you might 99 out of 100 times go walk up to that Bigfoot and he's gonna do his Bigfoot things or rocket you. No, nothing crazy. That one time you woke him up from a nap and he's mad, he's pissed, and he doesn't want to deal with you. And you know what? You're just not gonna go home. The flip side is, a female, Mike, you're out there looking all spiffy and shiny and handsome out there, and that female's like, he keeps chasing me, and I just don't want him to go home now. I just don't want him to go home. I'm having too much fun. And you did nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong. You didn't piss off the Bigfoot. But the Bigfoot doesn't want you to leave because she fancies you, or he fancies, the women and stuff. And now you're in a situation where it's a bad situation. And the creature's, flesh and blood, not, it's just flesh and blood animal. It just likes you. And now you're in a bad situation. You might get kidnapped.
Right.
And if you refuse, you might get smacked around a little bit till you're taught your lesson to obey. But I think those situations happen too, where, you did everything right, but that Bigfoot, he wants to play a little bit more with you. So he's going to take you home. And
wasn't there a guy took in his sleeping bag or whatever, and he gave it snuff or whatever, and it got sick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Albert Osmond, the Osmond story. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what was they going to do with him. They're all just sitting around watching him.
And the Bigfoot was proud. He showed his wife, look what I got. And the wife was not having it. She was mad, and it looked like a married couple, kind of like, what the heck you bring this here for, or oh my God, you got another dog, really? Or,
you're right.
Something.
I said no more pets.
And real quick, I got an encounter where I got yelled at. Basically, I heard the neighbor yelling at me because I shot at a possum. The neighbor's yelling at me. I'm like, okay, why? Whatever. It's midnight. We're in the countryside. He yells at me a third time, except for it's not in English. He's mumbling at me. It's and I'm like, oh my gosh. And he does it again. It's this mumble. But to me, it sounded like a dude who's pissed off, and I could tell he's mad because I shot the gun off. It sounded like the neighbor who's mad, but he's not speaking English. He's mumbling. So I hear this female, and they're paralleling me, coming down this wood line about 100 yards in front of me, but they're paralleling it until they're right in front of me. And this female and this male sounded like a married couple bickering.
Wow.
And she's telling, basically, emotionally, what I get from them, it's like she's telling this Bigfoot male to not come down there. Don't mess with me. He has a gun. He has a gun, Bob. Don't mess with him. I don't care if he pissed you off, Bob. Just leave him alone. Ignore him. And they're going back and forth. And she's doing this sing-song, fluty language where she's chirping and singing and they're bickering back and forth. like a married couple, very human, was not animal, very human, until they're parallel from me, and then everything goes quiet. For 15 minutes, I'm out there with my I got a 223 bolt action scoped, and I hear a little something, a little twig break here, a little brush movement there, and I feel like, oh my god, they're right here. I get wigged out. I go back in the house. I grab 2 pistols and I go to bed. I don't tell my girlfriend, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna put these guns right here in case something happens. I don't know. Just gonna be ready. But it felt superhuman, very like a married couple, and it was 100% a human emotional. You could hear it every day, bickering couple, married couple, and that male was going to come down and show me something. He was pissed. I felt it. I didn't know his language. I didn't understand him, but I know it was a dude who was pissed. He was mad
Maybe he
at me, and he
wanted
was
your
letting me know.
possum.
I missed the possum too because he was like
Oh,
10 yards away, and I was scoped for like 120 yards, so I shot over him. But I
So,
thought my hunt was over with, and apparently he thought the same, and he was letting me know it was not okay.
so I have a theory, a question that kind of raises for me, and I've got to ask. So I've heard in other experiences from other people that have talked about things that they've stated that Bigfoot, Sabe, they are the watchers. They're not the Nephilim. They are the watchers. With that being said, what in we as a human species are prone to violence. We are warring creatures in ourselves, always fighting for territory, power, um, material gain, and goods. The concept that as these beings, being the watchers, are put in this position of watching over us and guarding us, to now think about if, in your mind, if we were in that role, you could almost understand why there would be a group. I mean, sorry, if I was put in a position, and this is what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to explain, what I'm thinking. I was put in a position to where you need to watch over this group. You're doing my job, guarding them, protecting them, letting the cycle go through. Do not engage with them. Do not do anything to let them know that you're here. If they do see you, you don't engage. Okay. And now you've got people over here shooting at you, killing you, hunting you. You have a family that you're raising to do the job of watching them for so many years and passing on that responsibility to them. But yet now you're being hunted by, I mean, not all researchers, I'm saying, but there are groups of people out there that are set in stone that they want to put a bullet between the eyes of one of these creatures. I mean, you would think you would hear more people going out into the woods and being brutally mauled. However, a majority of the stories that you hear or don't hear, because people are like, oh, my story is insignificant, it's not a big deal. They come back and they're like, yeah, it came after me or it attacked me. Well, what did it do? Well, it threw a rock at me. Well, did it hit you? No, it landed like a couple yards over, but it came from way across the lake. Well, then where's the attack? They're probably trying to get you away because they were probably more scared of you at this point because of how history has led us, again, as warring human species, to kill anything that we see as a threat without stopping and questioning. But I guess my question would then be like, what is your take on that? Would you, I mean, obviously you've gone out and you've seen these things. Do you feel, other than the severe emotions that sometimes are forced upon you, that of fear that you hear so often, have you ever felt actually threatened when you've gone out to look or search for these things, that to the point where, or do you think that they are being mostly observant, and they just kind of want to see what you're doing and what you're about, and maybe coming across the same ones in areas that you might go back to?
Yeah, I think again, if they're spiritual and they're good or bad, it kind of doesn't make sense why they, throw rocks and they do the things they do. Um, I think that I've never been in a situation other than being yelled at. I didn't really think my life was in jeopardy. I didn't feel threatened. I've been in a lot of situations that could be considered that, breaking of branches, getting stuff thrown at you. Val considers that hostile, aggressive actions, Um, I've never really been in a situation where I was like, oh my God, I'm about to die. Maybe my first encounter, but again, nothing happened. So I, I tend to don't think it's such a serious, life-threatening thing going on. But you are in every situation where you're a Bigfoot, with Bigfoot next to you and actually letting you know that it's actually there, you are potentially in a dangerous situation, because any animal can hurt you. But Val categorizes a lot of things as aggressive or violence towards humans. Like if I threw a rock at Mike, whether or not I actually hit him, uh, I can be charged with assault or charged with a deadly weapon because rocks do kill people. So anytime a rock is thrown at you or hits people, doesn't matter if it knocks you out or hits you in the leg, that is a weapon being thrown at you. So that is if he's affects law enforcement officer, so that's a violent crime. A lot of things that Bigfoots do, we downplay as not being violent or being socially acceptable. So like Bigfoot watching kids through a window. Oh, it's just Bigfoot. He's just curious about the kids. We accept that. But if any random stranger human did that to you on your property, you'd be like, oh, that's some pervert. He needs to go to jail. I'm calling the cops. That's wrong. But if a Bigfoot does it, well, it's just curiosity. It's called prowling, is what the
Right.
term is. And and Val says that especially younger males who make a habit of prowling or watching through windows end up becoming like a rapist or committing violent acts towards the people they're watching typically. So he said that that's not a good sign. If you see a person doing that, especially a younger man, that's typically not a good sign. Bluff charging, throwing rocks, shaking trees. It's letting you know, don't come closer, don't mess around. You better leave because something violent is going to happen. I'm throwing this rock at you to let you know, like, I can hit you. I can throw this rock and smack you. When I had that big boulder, a bowling ball sized rock, 20-pound plus rock thrown, that's letting you know I can throw this massive rock and spoosh and pretty much land where I want, take you out. There's nothing you can do. You're not going to see it. You better behave yourself.
Right.
A lot of that, could be considered life threatening. I just threatened you with a deadly weapon. Some people consider that, well, it's their home, it's this and that. Kidnapping of kids, watching of women in bathrooms or outside is not normal. If some random dude was staring at my kids and at my girlfriend for several minutes, and some of them get hard, you can visibly see that they're liking what they're watching. That's not normal. If you've seen a guy like that on your property, you more likely take a gun out there. So just
Yeah.
because Bigfoot does it, now it's the friendly forest hippie giant. He means no harm, but he's doing this weird stuff that if any normal dude did it, it'd be wrong and bad and violent. And So Val thinks that they're indifferent to us. They're not evil towards us, but they don't care, and they value their species lives and family life more than any human life. So if you hurt them, they take it very seriously, and they have a very vengeful spirit, very vengeful attitude. Well, you mess with them, they're gonna really mess with you. Or there's been reports where people get followed home because they're in the woods, tromping around doing stuff, and then the Bigfoot follows them home somehow miles away, and then starts smacking their house, looking in their windows and messing with them. There's a person I know, Alex, when he was 15 here in Michigan, he late one night he decided to take a shortcut through a cornfield, and he said these things were running around, running around him and stuff. And he walked up onto him hunting, but he walked up and this male came out of the cornfield, and his face like this, and it was beet red eyes, and he was mad, like extremely mad look on his face. And Alex said he felt like he disrupted their hunt, and he lived in the area, so he went hunting that season, and he said that the Bigfoot messed with him. They were being loud, they were messing with his hunt. He got scared, he walked out, and he's very adamant he'll go to the campfire and he'll sit at the campfire. He will not go in the woods by himself or with us after dark. He will not go in the corn after dark. He does not want to go anywhere into the woods or anywhere surrounding the property after dark.
Do you think they're opportunists? Maybe if they think, hey, this guy's out here by himself, he's standing on an old bridge, maybe they'll just say he fell. Do you think they take advantage of people being in, a bad situation?
Yeah, because they're people watchers, and they watch people, and they take advantage of old people. Like if you own a piece of property and you're old, and your grandkids and your kids hardly ever come, but your grandkids only come maybe once or twice a month, and they go running out in the woods, but no one else has set foot in that wooded lot or that property or that swamp for almost 20 years since the late husband or the son used to hunt. He don't hunt no more in there much anymore. So now they have a place they can watch. They feel comfortable. They know the routine of the family, of the house. They are utilizing the old people as a nice private habitat because there's no one that goes over there. They know the routines of the old people. For the last 40 years, they've done basically the same stuff. I think they take advantage of people. They watch people. They can know when you're not in a good position. You're expose yourself. You're unguarded. You're paying attention to your phone. Right. You're distracted. You're with camping and stuff like that. So I think they can predict based off observation patterns what a farmer is going to do. Brooke, what your night routine is. You kick up, watch TV at 10 o'clock, and you're going to do this, this, and this. Probably going to let the dog out.
Don't tell me that. I live alone.
Probably going to take the dog out at 10, maybe 11 the latest, but usually from midnight till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. This lady in this house is going to do this. We can do this, this, and this, and not have to worry about anything. And I think they seek out properties like that, private properties with low pressure. They watch people and they take opportunities for whatever reason to do whatever they feel curious about. Maybe take kids or steal stuff. I've been recently documenting at my recorder. I was talking about tree structures and branches being manipulated and woven into stuff. But I've also been finding some blatantly obvious saplings that are ripped up and placed in front of my recorder, and one was cut by some sort of tool. I'm not quite sure. I don't think it was a chainsaw, but that was placed right up next to my recorder in a spot. And I'm thinking, this is either a person who knows where I'm doing, or it's just a random person who just randomly put that there, or this is some cryptid Bigfoot activity going on. But I've been setting this recorder out in the spot for 5 months now. And over the last 2 months, I've documented several changes and stuff where I walk in there and I walk back to get my recorder. this wasn't there. The stick strung up this weird way. And I'm all documenting it, and they just placed this big old branch in front of the trail. Some of these little things stuck into the ground. Several changes that I've been documenting, and I picked up this walnut and I put it onto this branch. Went out the next day, it's gone. We just went out there this last weekend, and I found a old red shotgun shell that's rusted right in the middle of the path that wasn't there before. And some random person isn't really gonna grab that from another spot and just randomly take it to another spot. Usually you see shells on the ground. You might look at it, check it out, see what kind of cartridge it is, but you leave it on the ground. Maybe you'll throw it away if you're really good. But normally people don't take those shells and go deposit it somewhere else. So I find it very interesting that the stuff is being placed right in front of my path. So I always take the same path. I'm always looking. And if you go there long enough, and again, you let them know that you're there, and then you actively look, and it seems to me, when I'm documenting, that they're actively putting stuff on the trail for me to notice. And some of it is obvious, and some of it is like, was this really here? Or it's so subtle and stuff where there's just little twig that it is obvious, but it's there, it's hanging, and that my head's gonna hit it, and it wasn't there yesterday, it wasn't there last week,
Right.
So I'm documenting that with a lot of tree knocks, popping sounds, and some vocals, some gurgling vocal sound. I'm not sure if it's a bug next to the recorder or some type of creature, but I have several things. On my channel, there's a video called 37 Tree Knocks, and I was recording in the woods. All of a sudden, I hear this knock and a scream, and then I go to this area for 2.5 hours. Nothing happens. I'm in the middle of the field waiting for something. Nothing happens. I go in the car, turn my recorder on. I pass out, and I get 36 tree knocks happen, and they're loud. It varies in the sound. So there's some that sound super loud, some sound closer, some sound far away, some are double knocks. So it's like bam, bam. There's a triple knock, bam, bam, bam. It's not gunshots. I have several recordings of gunshots and stuff. If it was a gunshot, it should all pretty much be consistently. It's not like you're shooting a 22 and then a 12 gauge and then going back to a 410 and this, that. Right. Consistently, you would hear like a 22. It should sound the same. Different knock sounds, different loudness. And I even have a recording of something knocking a tree and then that branch breaking apart. And I have another member, Tyler, who got that too up north. You hear this tree knock and then you hear this piece of this branch fall onto the ground as it was broke.
Wow. So do you ever gift? Is that something you've done?
No, I do not. Well, technically, if you put out an item,
right,
and then you expect something in return, that's not really a gift. That's more like a trade. You're trading your apples for some type of item that they're going to leave or something that you can film. That's a gift. Would be like when we went up to UP, and on the very last morning before we left, we put out apples, and then we just left. We didn't return to see what happened. That's gifting technically. I don't gift or I can't remember the term. Habituate them, because I think if you associate food, I don't want to associate myself with food in any sort of way. So I don't want to bring food to them, and I don't want to piss them off when I don't bring any food.
Right.
I don't want them to think anything with food and me is related. I carry a gun if I'm up north, a big knife. I carry weapons. I want them to know, like, I'm not to be messed with. If you're going to mess with me, something's going to be bad. It's going to happen to you. And
you're formidable.
I'll tell this story real quick. I don't know how much more time we got, but up in the UP, we were there for a week. You can watch this video in 4K. It's called Jason, Kenzie, and Blake's Bigfoot Encounter on the UP. You can watch it in 4K. Basically, I had to go get a recorder. I asked a group of researchers who wants to go out with me. Jason raised his hand. Probably the best deal ever. He was the documentary filmmaker with the best camera. We went out there, grabbed a recorder. My big, awesome headlight. It's red dyes. He has some cheap ones. So we go back under the trail. We notice these 3 twigs on the trail that our heads are going to run into that wasn't there before. And we're documenting this. We're looking at it. And all of a sudden, we turn, walk away. I have a bolt action rifle on my shoulder. We hear commotion behind us. Blatantly obvious commotion. I turn around. I shoulder my rifle, but I point it towards the direction of the sound, but it's at the ground. I'm pointing at the ground, but it's ready to lift up to where whatever I'm engaging. I don't see it, so I don't know what. I'm not going to point at something I don't actually know what I'm going to shoot. I'm not going to shoot at something I don't see. But very quickly, instinctively, I kind of knew. Sounds squatchy, and I shouldered my rifle. And moments later, it sounded like multiple individuals scattered around. But when I put I shouldered my rifle, this creature tree peeked out of this tree, and he's looking. He's watching, and we see it. And Jason's pointing, and he's like, "Do you see that? Do you see that?" And he starts to film at this point. So then you can start watching the video at this point. We don't get the eye shine on film. Our headlamps weren't bright enough, and his stock IR wasn't bright enough. But we seen it, and we're pointing, and he's looking, and I'm hearing something, or another individual by us, trying to flank us. And I think there's more. And I'm looking, I see it, and I'm looking over here. My head's on a swivel because I know there's more. And all of a sudden, there's a second individual that's about 7 to 8 feet tall, and it tree peaks. So now there's 2 of them, and I'm looking at them. And at first, I'm like, well, it could be a bear still, or it could be a raccoon. They're on the trees, it's not really anything but eye shine until the bottom one turned and went like this, and I seen its whole cranium, and it's like it went up to here to its forehead, and then it like really went up like a cone head, like a crest of a gorilla. And I knew, oh my God, this isn't a wolf. This isn't a bear. This certainly isn't a raccoon. Oh my God. And there's one right here. And we see him. We're pointing at him. We're looking at them. They know that we're looking at them. They're letting us watch them. They did this on purpose. So, they go back, and I decide, well, let's walk over there. And I'm thinking, it's happened so fast, but so slow. I'm thinking, well, I want to walk up and approach him, but I don't want him to think I mean him harm. So I start singing. I start doing a Native American greeting in the Algonquin language. And I start singing it, and he kind of goes, la, 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 la. And we're singing to let him know, like, we're not violent. I don't know if at the time it's the only thing I think of. We're singing to him, let him know, like, hey, we're not violent. We're calm, cool, and collective. We get up to the area. We don't see anything. Jason's filming himself, and he's turning, looking. You see this big eye shine that he films. And then I turn, I'm looking like right where it should be. It should be right there. I don't see nothing, don't hear nothing. We walk back a little bit to the those twigs that are hanging down, and I'm thinking, well, they probably just made it for us to notice, and they're right here. We just walked up on them. Jason's filming himself. He looks. You see the film. He looks like he sees something, and he turns back to me. Keeps looking. He's not sure. He takes a couple steps, and you see his face because he's filming himself. You see his face completely change. He does like a double take, and like his whole system reboots. And he's like, "Oh my God, it was crawling. It was crawling. It was standing up." And he said it dropped down on all fours and it spider crawled across the ground in front of him, and it freaked him out. And Jason's from British Columbia. He's a funny guy. He's a wildlife photographer. He's filmed wolves and exotic animals as pets, also about it in the wild. He told me this hilarious story about being in middle school, going up to a sleeping bear, brown bear, in the middle of class at recess. Everyone's freaking out. He goes up to it, kicks it. He's, being that little shit that he is. The bear was dead. Okay. I say that because he knows what bears are. He knows what animals act like. He was very adamant there was no bear and stuff. So you see him, I start asking him questions, where did it go? He said across the trail right here. So I instantly started looking of where it's at, where it should be. And I'm asking him questions. He's telling me, how big it was and stuff like that. And so I did, before this, I did say the native language. I said, can we see you and stuff? And then when Jason did see them, I did say, thank you, Sabe, because, well, I did ask for them to be seen, and Jason did see them. I don't know if they can understand English or not, so I'm speaking in English and native, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we're surrounded by at least 3 of them. We've seen the 2 that were behind the tree, and the one that flanked me earlier is the one that Jason seen spider crawl. So there's 3 of them. It's just me and Jason out here. No one else knows where we are. I'm the only one who knew where the recorder was. And so I'm thinking, we got to go back to camp because there's other people with more equipment. We have a thermal. There's more potential if we get interaction with more witnesses, it's better collaboration of the story. And there's more equipment to capture. There's audio going and stuff. So we head back there. I say, come follow us with, that is when the other members seen the thing on thermal, and it is almost like it knew it was being watched, maybe because the body language of the guy is like, oh my God, I see something. So it's like from the body language, it looks like the guy is spotted the Bigfoot. So the Bigfoot was behind me about 20 yards behind some trees. And then when it realized it was being watched, it went backwards, walked backwards, and got down on all fours and disappeared. But it backed out like this and then dropped it and went back. It didn't turn around or anything.
Well, I know.
So you can watch that video, and that is Searching for Sasquatch Part 2 and 3 with Jason Kenzie. You can watch the raw, unedited full clip. Jason Kenzie and Blake Deutscher's Bigfoot Encounter of the UP. It's in 4K, so you can watch it in 4K. Around the 8 minutes and 30 seconds, there is eye shine, and around 10 minutes and 20 seconds, there is more eye shine that you can see. One huge, massive eyeball that you can see.
I'm hoping to get some better footage than what I've got. I guess I just have to keep pushing, and hopefully I'll get a photograph or it'll get a dinner. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, I'm out there just hoping to get something, and it's a lot harder, especially when stuff's happening, than people think. But the more you're out there, the more you practice, the more you experience, and when you're in that situation, oh my God, this is happening. The more you experience it, the more you're like, oh yeah, my camera, turn it on and start filming. You have to get out of that shock and awe phase and into time to operate phase, and it takes quite a few experiences before you're like, oh, I need to do this, and I should stop paying attention of this life-threatening danger and pick up my camera and film like an idiot instead of running away.
Right.
Run to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blake, I've kept you almost 2.5 hours, and I really don't have anything more. Really, I mean, I could talk to you all night. But,
Oh yeah.
guys, go check him out. Subscribe to him. Support him. I think that I know a lot of the stuff you're having happening. I've had, the limbs across my trails and stuff, and I'm not as down there as much as I'd like to be, but I'm trying different things, hoping for different contact. I know that it seems like when I take Sarah with me, I get more contact. It said Sarah's name the other night. It was really weird. It almost sounded like a demon. But it calls her name. I don't know why, but it calls her name. And then we got the reflection in the windows about really all we got. And Brooks saw it. I didn't even see it.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, it's in the windshield, and it's a big head, and you can see one eye really well because you can see the dot in the skull area, the white part. It's
and that's
good
when
size.
I was leaving. I'd had enough. I mean, it was calling names, and I was hearing a lot of mumbling, like a lot of just like you said, gibber. I couldn't understand it, but and man, the coyotes went crazy when all that started happening. All the coyotes around me, they just went nuts. I mean, they were howling and barking and yelping, and it went crazy for a little bit. And I felt, I told them the night I got out, I felt really uncomfortable. I didn't even feel comfortable being there. I felt like I wasn't even supposed to be there that night. And usually I never have that feeling. And I felt like I was being watched. It was just, I just felt uncomfortable. And it didn't take maybe 20, 30 minutes, and that damn thing screamed. And that was enough. I could tell that I wasn't wanted there. And the only thing I can figure is we're having a drought right now, and we have a lot of water pools right now in our creeks, and they're full of fish. So, I mean, it would be really easy to go where I was at and to get food because, I mean, there's large fish right now that's trapped in these pools. So I don't know if maybe they were trying to get food, uh, and I showed up at the wrong time, but it definitely wasn't happy. And I was going to let them have it that night. I wasn't going to stay and fight them for a gar. So I was done. But yeah,
Well,
plug, you know,
Well, I have
plug
a
your
question really
channel.
quick. I have a question really quick though. Do you have, I think I heard you right, the conference coming up is in September?
Yep, the
Or
28th.
okay. Are there still tickets available?
Yeah, you can go online. The last couple live shows has a link in the description, or you can go to the Michigan Bigfoot Dogman Facebook page, the Lost Cryptids Conservatory Facebook page, the Facebook group. You should find links and stuff. This is going to be at the Ingham County Fairgrounds. This is the banquet hall in Mason, Michigan. So I think they should have some stuff on their website coming up. I sent all the information, so they would put it up on there, and you contact me on Facebook,
Yep.
and I will give you guys the link and stuff. It's $30 online and at the door. So, and we're gonna have myself as a speaker. We're having two ex-law enforcement officers. One is Grizzly Chris from the Bigfoot Outlaw YouTube channel, and he does a variety of paranormal, psychic mediums, murder cases, shows, and stuff, and Bigfoot, of course. He's going to talk about his Bigfoot and Dogman encounters. Val Savala, who has 25 years, ex law enforcement officer. He's the data miner guy I was talking about. He's going to be talking about a plethora of information and data mining of over 100,000 reports that he's gone through since 2012. And he profiles Bigfoot the same way you would profile a serial killer. And his findings are not so fluffy and nice. So,
Well, I'm going to try and
then
make
we're
it
doing a
out
camp
there.
out afterwards.
I'm going to try and make it out there. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I would love to see you there and stuff. And I'm going to invite you to the after party camp out where we're going to be camping out and looking for Bigfoot in a pretty active area. So hopefully we get some cool stuff.
All right.
dang it. I live too far.
That's what a lot of people tell me. It's like, man, I think I would love to travel one of these days and make visits to do some Bigfoot researching. And Oklahoma's on the list. I've already been to Florida and a couple other places, but I definitely want to get out there in the next 5 years. So maybe I'll make a trip down to Oklahoma and do some
New
searching with you guys.
Mexico.
Yeah.
New Mexico is on the list. I got
Yeah.
Robert Kreider down there who wants to take me to some haunted mines and looking for Bigfoot out on the hills and looking for lost treasure and maybe some dinosaurs and some of those valleys you got around there.
Yeah. I am 65 miles west of Roswell. I'm in the Sacramento Mountains.
I drove through Roswell when I was a kid with my dad, but they had a tornado going on, so we couldn't get in the city of Roswell. But I
Right.
remember going through and realizing all this red dirt. When did the land become red dirt? It was like an
Yeah.
alien planet, and
Well,
it's
where I live, it's
amazing.
totally different. I'm in the Lincoln National Forest and the Mescalero Apache reservations right here, and I'm in the forest. Yeah,
Billy the Kid territory.
yeah, Billy the Kid
Yeah,
stomping ground. Yeah, it's beautiful here. It is.
We're gonna get you a
yeah, a lot of.
GoPro and send you out on a solo for us. Maybe you can get some.
Well, I'll do it.
There you go.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Blake, I appreciate you coming on, man. I've been trying to get you on for a long time. We've wanted to get you on for a long time, and I really enjoy your work. I really do.
Yeah.
I think that you're one of the real ones, and I go to your channel a lot because I think you're on the right track to finding what they are, and I encourage everybody to go check you out and subscribe and support you because I really do like your work, and I've liked your work for a while, and I think that you have a lot to offer. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, and I recommend your channel too. And you guys are amazing family. It seems like, and you guys always having fun and the laughs, and it's always good to join in and watch your lives. That you guys are getting some activity and some crazy shenanigans from people and other stuff. So I'm gonna definitely check out your live, check out that scream and the face that's in the windshield and stuff. And
yeah, it was. You never know what we're going to be doing if it's. But I've always got bait with me. Usually, I take Sarah with me. So if something does get
seen it. He's Sarah or your daughter and stuff, and I think that's kind of funny how she gets all scared and reacts because it's it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely good bait. That's definitely going to be working. They're going to be curious with that. And,
always take somebody with you can outrun.
yeah.
Be sure you have the car keys. Yeah.
That's right. Don't want to lose them out there.
Well, Blake, I'm going to let you run, man. I'll be in contact with you. I'll send you some photos and stuff you can check out. And yeah, anytime you go live or your show that you're going to be doing, send us the link and we'll post it on our Facebook page for you, man. Try to get it out there for you.
Okay, sweet. I appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime. All right, man. Well, I'm going to let you run. Thanks for showing up, man.
Thanks for you guys hosting me. I appreciate it. Anytime.
All right,
Love
man. We appreciate it. We'll have you back.
Guys have a good night.
Sure. Good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
I really enjoyed having him on. He's I really do. I think that he's one of the few that really is doing good work, and I think I like the way he breaks it down and the knowledge that he has.
My phone is gonna die. I'm just gonna put that out there right now. So I gotta
All right,
go.
well, we're gonna end it. I got the TV on. If y'all heard something in the background, I saw y'all looking. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for watching. I appreciate the support. Like I said, go support Blake. He does a lot of good work. I'm glad that he took the time to come on the show. Thanks to you guys for showing up, for the moderators that are in the chat tonight. I know this hasn't released yet, but I want to thank the moderators for moderating this whenever it does, because without you, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. It takes all of us to make it work, and I'm very appreciative of everybody, and it doesn't go unfelt. And, so, all right, guys, we're going to jump off here, and thank you for watching. And as always, guys, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner, and we'll see you on the next one.
Good night, everybody.